Welcome everyone to our Liquidity View Bootcamp, a bootcamp designed to explain to you every single feature of our swing trading scanner or option scanner called Liquidity View. So my name is Daniel, and I will be your presenter throughout this presentation. And before we get into it, a bit of a context. This is, I think, the third or maybe the fourth time that we are recording this bootcamp. And it's not because the previous bootcamps they were, not well done or they were not, comprehensive enough. No, the reason is that we have been adding more and more features to our Liquidity View dashboard. And in fact, this has become our most active product here at tradingindicators.com. And because of this, because we have added features which were not covered in one of our previous bootcamps, we decided, okay, it is once again time to re-record this bootcamp to explain to you every single feature of this really comprehensive and very powerful dashboard. All right, so this is the plan for today. We will conduct this bootcamp in two parts. Part one will explain to you the high-level features, the reason why we have designed the dashboard in the first place, how you can use it, how you can use the main features. And then part two, we're going to go through every single scanning component, scanning column in this dashboard. And part two is designed for you to really understand of which scan criteria perhaps could be the ones which are the most useful ones for you. All right, there's going to be a 10-minute break in between, and I estimate the time for the duration of this bootcamp to be approximately, give or take, 2 hours, maybe a bit longer. We'll see how it's going to be going, and there will be a 10-minute break in between these two parts. If this sounds good, let's get started. Just one more thing. This bootcamp is being recorded, so no problem if you need to drop off. You will get access to the recording afterwards. All right, now let's ease into today's topic. So first off, let me introduce ourselves. Most of you will already know who we are. We are tradingindicators.com. My name is Daniel. I'm the guy here on the left-hand side, and together with Homer here in the middle, we have created Trading Indicators about 10 years ago. And Niklas here on the right-hand side, he has joined us about 5 years into our the life of Trading Indicators. And as the name suggests, we specialize on creating innovative trading indicators. We've built thousands of those for clients all over the world. And you may now wonder, isn't this bootcamp about a dashboard, not about a particular indicator? And you would be absolutely right. It is about our trade scanner, because what we learned over the years that many traders, they're good in technical analysis. They're good in using indicators and reading a chart. But what they're not good at is to find the symbols, especially in the stock and ETF space, the symbols which currently have an interesting setup. Why is that not so easy? Well, because there's so many symbols out there. There are literally thousands of different symbols out there, and only a few of them perhaps may have a an interesting setup currently. And this is where the idea of a trade scanner came in. And the Liquidity View Dashboard is our realization of such a trade scanner. A dashboard designed to find within the blink of an eye, among thousands of symbols, more than 5,000 symbols indeed, the ones which currently right now have an interesting setup. It is designed for swing traders and options traders, not necessarily for day traders because it operates on end of day data, but it addresses swing and options traders who perhaps want to hold a position between 2 and 20 weeks, or perhaps want to set up an options trade. So this was the objective of our Liquidity View dashboard. Today, I'm going to explain to you how this dashboard works and what every single feature of this dashboard is all about. With the idea that, hey, perhaps at the end, you will know exactly which parts of the dashboard, you're probably not going to use every single part of it, but which part of which feature of the dashboard is the one which is most relevant to you. All right, so if this sounds interesting, or something that would interest you, let's get started. Last thing, or actually two more things before we really get into it. If you have any questions, please don't be shy. Put your questions into the Q&A box, and I will keep an eye on those questions as we proceed through this bootcamp. And lastly, I do need to remind you that trading stocks and options and really any asset class does contain risk and therefore is not suited for every investor. If you trade, make sure to only use risk capital, which is money that you actually can afford to lose. When it comes to backtest performance or hypothetical performance, keep in mind that this is not necessarily indicative of future performance, and any trade ideas and strategies and scans and setups discussed in this webinar should not be construed as trade advice. These are for educational purposes only. All right, so with this out of the way, let me explain to you first what was the fundamental idea, the fundamental principle behind developing this dashboard in the first place. So what we noticed, and this dates back many years from now, maybe 5 years from now, is that every single chart, it doesn't really matter what kind of chart it is. It could be a 5-minute chart, it could be a 50-minute chart, it could be a daily chart, it could be a futures chart, a stock chart, an ETF. It doesn't really matter. Every single chart has what we call landmarks. These are certain regions or areas of price which have relevance in the future. And remember, stock trading or any form of trading is really, to some degree, actually to a bigger degree even, it's about forecasting what may happen in the future, where and when price will be in the future. This is the fundamental idea of trading. We want to forecast where price may be, and we can set up trades accordingly. Now, these landmarks on the chart, they help us do this because they have relevance moving into the future. How this works, I'm going to show you. Now, let's back up one more step. So, viewed with the naked eye, meaning without any indicators, without any help, charts can be quite unpredictable. You can see it here. An uptrend may soon reverse into a downtrend, only then to reverse back into an uptrend again. So this seems quite erratic, and it's really hard to forecast anything looking at the chart just like this. But things will become more clear once you're able to identify these landmarks, because these have relevance for the future. And oftentimes, one case of relevance could be that these landmarks, they oftentimes will be revisited by price in the future. For example, here in a historical high, you can see this one here, this high point here, later on in the future, perhaps many months into the year, will be revisited. This level will be revisited by price, and even price will react to this level in a very certain way. For example, in this case, as price approaches this level, price is bouncing off this level to the downside. So this is information which, of course, is very important to us as traders because it helps us to predict where price might be in the future. Now, these levels, they have various names. For example, support and resistance levels. Other traders may call them differently, but for now, let's just call them support and resistance levels. Now, from a fundamental point of view, and this is not really relevant to our scanning process, but from a fundamental point of view, a support level is created when demand exceeds supply. Meaning, for example, you can see these swing lows here. Price goes down, going up again, goes down, going up again, goes down and going up again. At these swing lows, what's happening here are big money buy orders are stepping in, preventing price from moving further down, and instead price will pivot to the upside. That's the opposite for a resistance level where supply exceeds demand. In this case, perhaps big money sell orders are coming in, preventing price from going further up, and instead price will pivot and turn to the downside. Now, why did I say in the beginning this is not really relevant to us as retail traders? Because we retail traders don't have the buying power to move the market in such a way. Impossible. Our orders are simply not big enough. But who does have the buying power? Well, it's the big players, the culprits, the institutions, the ones who can submit these big bulk orders to move the market in such a way. Now, you may think, okay, well, too bad for us retail traders. Well, actually not, because while the big players, they will call the shots, we as retail traders, we can identify the footprints and follow the patterns and benefit in the process. And this is exactly what one trading approach that I will show you today will be all about. It's about identifying where these key levels on your chart are and then predicting how price will react to these levels. and we can set up trades along the way. Now, once again, these levels are often called support and resistance levels, or perhaps even liquidity levels. So keep this in mind, liquidity, because our dashboard is called Liquidity View. So just so you know where this relation comes from, because it comes from the various names that these support and resistance levels may have. All right. So once we're able to spot these levels and these zones, we are able to identify these promising setups. And our dashboard will help us with this. But before we get into this, and Jeffrey, the audio should be working, I believe. Maybe you guys can perhaps confirm. Maybe there's something off of your audio setting. All right. So what are some of these setups that we at Trading Indicators like? And this is just an idea of what you perhaps could also scan for. But it is not exclusive. Yeah, you may have completely different trading styles, perhaps different setups in mind, and these can also be found with our dashboard. But one setup that we like here at Trading Indicators is the following. And we're going to start with a very simple one. It's called the healthy pullback. So a healthy pullback is a trend trading setup. And of course, for a trend trading setup, we first of all need to have a trending symbol. Price needs to move into one direction for a prolonged period of time, either to the upside or to the downside. And oftentimes when it comes to stocks, we prefer the upside because stocks typically have an upside bias, meaning stocks tend to go up over time rather than going down. So we want to have a stock moving into the up direction, for example, for quite some time, a long-term uptrend. But as a trend trader, there are good moments to get into a trend trade, and there are not so good moments. For example, entering all the way up here, where price is very far away from our average lines. You can see these little green lines on the chart. This perhaps is not the best idea. Why? Because over there, prices are very expensive, and the danger of experiencing a pullback is quite high. Yeah, this is exactly what happened afterwards. So what we prefer at Trading Indicators is to wait for such a pullback. So price coming down a little bit. And guess what? We actually have an indicator allowing us to find these pullbacks. Look at this indicator down here. It's called Trend Radar. This little heat map below the chart. It will show to us directly on the chart whether we are currently in an extended state when everything is green, you can see it here, or when we are in a pullback state, when we have this little red area here moving or inching into our green or mostly green area. This would be a pullback. You can even count it out, yeah, depending on how many levels we go down. In this case, it's 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels down. We call this a level 4 pullback. And this to us is already a better entry than entering over here when prices are very expanded. Okay, so we're oftentimes are looking for these pullbacks. All right, now, but we can even push it one step further. Remember the levels I talked about? What if we could find a pullback scenario which also coincides with a key technical level on the chart, a support or perhaps a resistance level? Wouldn't that be better? Because these levels have relevance. Price may react to these levels. Yeah. So, for example, if this was the case, let's say we are in an uptrend, we are bullish, we pulled back, and this pullback coincides with a technical level, like this reddish area here, this reddish zone. This is a support zone or support level. Price is pulling back to this level, and one could then anticipate, okay, we are in an uptrend anyways. We just pulled back within an uptrend, and we hit a support level. If this happens, one could anticipate, okay, price will bounce off this level towards the middle in between support and resistance up here. This is called the bounce trade. Multiple things are coming together. Now, this bounce trade actually is quite rare. Well, you'll see the criteria in the dashboard a bit later. It's quite rare, and at any given moment in time, perhaps of our 5,000 symbols that we're currently scanning through, perhaps only, I would imagine, only maybe 20, maybe 30 stocks currently are in such a state. All right, so it's quite rare, and this is exactly why we have developed this scanner, because finding these 20, 30 stocks within 5,000 stocks manually, that's almost impossible. Yeah, it's super tedious. And we always say at trading indicators, if something is too tedious, let's not do it. A tool is much, much better at this. So this is one of the primary use cases of having developed our trade scanner, our liquidity view dashboard. One more things to be pointed out here, we're going to get to this topic a bit later, is the event of a liquidity capture. You can see it here, this label on the chart, and this little shaded area underneath these candles here. So what is this? Well, a liquidity capture is an event where a candle wicks down into a support level, or perhaps into a resistance level, but in this case, it's into a support level. It cannot break it. So it gets into it, it wicks down, but it cannot break this level. And this candle has abnormally high volume. And oftentimes, even though the interpretation is a bit agnostic, but we view it as, hey, something is happening. Something is, changing right now at this price levels. And it could be interpreted as, lots of activity is happening in this market here. The volume is driving up. And remember the concept of big money buy orders coming in. Potentially, big money buy orders are coming in right now, preventing price from moving further down. And instead, price will bounce towards the middle in between support and resistance. So keep this in mind. It's going to become relevant later on in this presentation. All right, so this is the bounce setup, but there's another setup that we actually also quite like a bit, which is the zone break setup. Now, in life, nothing lasts forever, and in our trading life, also nothing lasts forever. Eventually, every support level down here or every resistance level will be broken. But when this happens, new opportunities for us are opening up again, because in this case, we could take the breakout trade. A breakout trade is a trade where when the level is broken, we anticipate the price will continue moving in the breakout direction for quite some time. You can benefit from this by simply, in this case, going short, or perhaps when the resistance is broken up here, to go long. All right, but there's one caveat, because oftentimes we often call this as the market fake out. Not sure that's the proper term, but maybe something to just to visualize it to you is oftentimes price comes back one more time or maybe two more times back to the broken level. You can see it here. We broke below support. Price initially went down, then came back up one more time and even two more times here back to the broken level. We call this the retrace trade. And this can be another opportunity to re-enter into a breakout move. For example, here in this bullish case where resistance is broken to the upside. You can see it here. We came up, we retraced down to this broken resistance level, and then this would be another opportunity to re-enter into this breakout move. It's like the initial market fake out. After a breakout, price comes down back to the broken resistance level, which, by the way, now is acting as support. And then we really blast off. And in fact, what I recommend right off the bat is to, don't worry too much whether a line on the chart is considered resistance or is considered support. We have these reddish colors or these greenish colors here. Think of those just as levels, because what really matters is from which direction price approaches a level. So in this case, for example, here price comes from the, price comes from the upside down to this level. In this case, it may act as support. It didn't work out here because price broke it, but this is the idea. Price comes from the upside to a level, that's support. If price comes from the downside to a level, this level is resistance. This is what you need to keep in mind. Yeah, it doesn't really matter how you call these levels. It matters from which direction price approaches this level. Same here. Let's have a look. Price came from the downside towards this level. It stalled out a little bit here because it acted as resistance. Yeah, and then price came from the upside here down to a level. In this case, this level acted as support. This is what really matters. Okay, please keep this in mind. Now, of course, understanding these setups, that's nice. And I think they're not that complicated, these setups. But what is tedious and what is the challenge is how can we find stocks and symbols which currently have these setups? Well, this is exactly why we have developed our Liquidity View Dashboard, which allows you, first of all, to see these levels directly on the price chart by means of our indicators that come with the dashboard, our Liquidity IQ indicator, our MA Rush indicator, our Trend Radar indicator down here. So you have all these different indicators on the chart. But of course, we also do have a scanning component that comes with the dashboard. So this is on the left-hand side here. And both working together, this is really where the power of this trading scanner comes in. All right. So let me go through some of the main features or highlight features of this dashboard. First off, it's meant for swing traders. The dashboard will work on an end of day basis. The scanner will scan for you data which is on end of day basis. Therefore, it is not suited for day traders. We do have a live charting component in the dashboard, but this is really just to double check quickly what is the current market price doing. The scanner will only work on the end of day basis. That's by design because we are gearing towards swing traders and options traders and perhaps longer term investors. Currently, we are scanning through almost 6,000 symbols. This is a growing list. Pretty much every single week, almost every day, we are adding new symbols to the dashboard. And this can be by request. So if you guys have any symbols that you would like to see added, just send me a note afterwards or send us a note. You know how to contact us, and we'll be happy to add this symbol to the dashboard. Of course, we'll do some due diligence because we want to have the dashboard to have only liquid symbols which actually nicely analyzable, that's the word, through technical analysis. If that's a symbol which is very erratic or is very illiquid and there are many gaps in the price movements, potentially we're not going to add it. But if it's a decent symbol, we'll be more than happy to add it to the dashboard. This takes about a week to have this one added. This is on demand. The dashboard also allows you to clearly understand risk and reward. So we do have some indicators for this, but also our levels that we just talked about, our support and resistance levels that we can clearly see on the price chart. They will help us understand to time our trade, to manage our trade, to spec out our trade, to understand, hey, where do we want to take profit? Where will we, close to the trade if it goes into the minus? Where's my stop loss level? This is possible with the dashboard as well. And what was really important to us, the dashboard is optimized for speed and convenience. So for speed, you will see in a second, it's lightning fast. The scan process takes less than a second, a blink of the eye, and the scan is done. It is so fast that, basically finding what you're looking for is literally a matter of maybe 3 minutes. It's super fast. This is what I do at the end of every trading day. I just open up the dashboard. I say, hey, what has become interesting for the next day? I put together a quick watch list for me, which is one of our convenience features. And the next day, when the market opens, I'll double check if the current market prices, see, perhaps the market gapped, or perhaps just to double check if this setup is still relevant. And then I execute the trade. And this is exactly what one of the main use cases of our dashboard is. All right. So, but moving on. What else do we have? Well, we have the dashboard here. You can see it here, and it comes with a whole bunch of features. And what I want to do now is I want to walk you through all these features. Now, I understand that you may know many of these features already, and you don't have to. You can just drift off a little bit if that's the case. But I really want to cover or give a very comprehensive bootcamp here, where every single feature is explained. Therefore, making this bootcamp your sole source of truth, we can find all the information about the dashboard. Sounds good? Let's get started. Now, we're going to start first. I'm going to switch to the dashboard in just a second. We're going to start with the chart and the indicators that come with the chart first. All right. So with this, I'm going to go over to our dashboard. There we go. And in fact, the other thing which I want to do, let me just quickly find my dashboard if I didn't close it. Give me 1 second. I think, it's down here. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so here we have the dashboard. And let me just quickly go back here. There we go. And this is how the dashboard looks like. And perhaps one more thing before I get to the charting component here is I want to show you quickly how you can actually log in and log out to the dashboard. Of course, that seems like a basic step, but let me just quickly explain to you anyways. So I'm going to log out here. There we go. And this will bring you back to the login screen. And for first-time users, if you're using this dashboard for the very first time, that's really just a one-time thing, you will need to create an account. So this is this step here. You create your initial account, you put your name here, your email address. This should be the email address that you use for your subscription. And don't put a different one, otherwise you're going to get an error message. And then you assign your password. That's done. You click create an account. You will need to confirm your email address. There's going to be a confirmation code being sent to your inbox. You put this in, and once done, your account is created and you can log in to the dashboard. And you simply log into the dashboard. I like to just save my credentials. That's fine. For convenience, I log in and the dashboard will then open. Once you're in the dashboard, of course, you can also log out. And, of course, I typically log out. Well, I log out of the dashboard every single day. Why is this? Because, by logging back in, you always make sure that you're using the latest data. So I like to log out, when the day is done, I log out, I log back in the next day, no problem. Let me just log out one more time here through this menu here. Go to this user icon, you click on it, user options, and you log out. There we go. One last thing, if you forget your password, it may happen. It happened to me many times. You can use this reset password option here. The way this works is you enter the email address that you use to register your dashboard when you create your account. You click request password. A code or a link will be sent to your inbox. Once again, you click on this link and then you can reset your password and we can relog in again. If you still have trouble getting into the dashboard, simply reach out to us at tradingindicators.com and we're going to help you out. All right, so back into the dashboard. There we go. All right, logging in again. Okay, it's loading. And while this is loading, I mentioned in the beginning, this is a very live product, a very active product, the most active product, in fact, here at tradingindicators.com, because we're constantly trying to improve it. Every single day, I have meetings with our developer team to think about new features. And many of these features, they're actually inspired by your feedback. I'm receiving emails every single day. Hey, Daniel, can you add these symbols? Hey, Daniel, what about this filter? Hey, Daniel, what about this setup and so forth? Hey, I listen to all of these and then, I write them up to our development team and they will implement it. So every single day I'm meeting with them and we have many, many big plans for the dashboard. Oh my goodness. So this is definitely not the last time I'm recording this bootcamp. This is obvious already. Okay, so let's talk about the charting component. This is the right-hand side here on the dashboard. Now, you may notice, or you may see actually, hey, this very much looks like TradingView. That's right. It looks like TradingView. In fact, we do have a TradingView developer's license to reuse their charting in our dashboard. So thanks to TradingView to this. And this is also why, we give reference here to TradingView, like JP Morgan by TradingView, powered by TradingView. So if you actually click on this one here, JP Morgan will open up on the actual TradingView platform. A question, however, which I oftentimes get is, hey, do I need an actual TradingView account to use the dashboard? And the answer is no, absolutely not. You do not need a TradingView account. So this is not needed. This is a standalone dashboard. It does not require any TradingView account or subscription. Okay. So the right-hand side here is our charting component. And the first thing that you may see is, hey, there are already some indicators on that chart. And that's right. By default, there are 4 indicators on the chart. 3 chart indicators and 1 indicator below the price chart here. So what are these 3 indicators? Well, the first one is called MA Rush. Let me just, start step by step. So the first indicator is going to hide the other ones. You can hide indicators by clicking on this little eye icon here. You can see this one here. Okay. Or you can simply completely remove it. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So we're going to hide these indicators. And the first indicator that we're seeing here is our MA Rush indicator. It makes this chart or the price, nice green here or red if it's a bearish trend. And more importantly, it prints these labels onto the chart. This is our trend indicator, indicating to us, hey, what is the current trend of the symbol I'm looking at? In this case, JP Morgan on the daily time frame. In this case, it's bullish. We're currently bullish because the last label, let me just zoom out a little bit more. The last label on the chart is what? It's a bullish label, meaning we are currently in a bullish trend because the last label is bullish. And what's also interesting is that, it allows us to see by this label here for how long we have been in such a bullish trend. That's going to become relevant just a bit later. So in this case, quite some time since, when is it? Since March 2023 or February, end of February 2023. So quite some time, JP Morgan has been in a bullish trend. In fact, we have some traders in our group who exclusively trade with these labels, like in a stock on reverse fashion. They go long when the label prints bullish, and they keep their position, and they go short when it reverses, and so forth and so forth. Perhaps not the worst trading idea. All right. So this is our trend indicator. It's called MA Rush. Our second indicator, for this I'm going to hide MA Rush here just so you can see it one by one. Our second indicator is called Liquidity IQ. So I'm going to show it now here. It was hidden before. And once the indicator loads, you can see it prints these lines and levels onto the chart and these shaded areas. What are these? Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And by the way, you can just drag on these price axes here, either on the price axis here to make a bit more spread out in the vertical direction, or you can also drag the date axis here to zoom out or zoom in. And then you can double click also on this price axis to do an auto zoom. You see this here? I double clicked and it just zoomed into this position. Let me just do this again. So here, double click here, it goes into an auto zoom, which also is possible with this button here. Okay, so this is JP Morgan, as I mentioned before, and it prints these levels on the chart. What can we see here is, okay, right now, where's price? Price is near this reddish area here. So reddish areas are what? These are, technically speaking, support levels. But remember when I said, don't think about support and resistance as, in like very rigid terms. Instead, think of them just as liquidity levels. This is also where the name of the dashboard comes from. It's called Liquidity View. Okay, so think about this just as levels. Because what matters, what really matters is from where price is coming from and from which direction price is approaching this level. So let's look at this level here. We're coming from the upside down to this reddish level here. What does that mean? It means this level is now acting as support. Okay? Here, for example, the price is coming from the downside up to this green line here, to this level. What does that mean? Or coming from the downside, this level is acting as resistance. This is what you should be thinking of, just as levels, and it matters from where price is coming to this level. All right, so this indicator finds you these levels on the chart. It's quite sophisticated because it does a multi-time frame analysis in the background to calculate these levels. All right, so this is what the indicator does, and you can then use these levels to make predictions about the future. Now, we're going to look at some setups in just a bit in this presentation. Okay, but there's one more thing. Remember when I mentioned liquidity captures? This event where a candle, like this candle here, comes down to a level, it wicks into a level, it cannot break it, and this candle has abnormally high volume. Well, then a liquidity capture event is generated. And once again, in our view, that's an event which further increases the chance of that the level will hold. Because we see it, as something, somebody is stepping in, somebody's driving up the volume, and perhaps, big buy orders are stepping in, driving price further up. Okay, so that's our interpretation of these liquidity capture events. Okay, so this is the second indicator. Now I'm going to hide it again because now we're going to talk about the third indicator, which is called Trend Radar. This one down here, I'm going to unhide it. There we go. I'm going to show it. Okay, so what do we see here? Our Trend Radar is our pullback indicator. Remember, we are in JP Morgan right here. We are in an uptrend. You can see it here. We're trending upwards. Our label, if you remember, was bullish, our last label on the chart, as per our MA Rush indicator. So we are in an uptrend. When would be a good moment to enter into this uptrend? What do you think? Would it be up here? And we're far away from our averages. By the way, our trend indicator also shows us these lines on the chart. And to me, when price is really far away or above these lines, it means it's very expensive. Price is very extended. For me, that's a big yellow flag, or maybe sometimes even a red flag, to not go long at these levels, because the chance of a pullback is quite elevated. Instead, I like to wait till prices comes down to these levels here. And we have a registered pullback here in our Trend Radar indicator. In this case, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 levels down, a level 4 pullback, as per our trend radar indicator. This is where I get interested. And if you combine this with a key liquidity level, where price also is right now, this little red area here, then three things are coming together. We are on a bullish trend. We currently pulled back to our averages, back to our MA rush lines, these average lines, and we are hitting a key level. Three things coming together, anticipating that a bounce off this level may be imminent. And we can scan for this. We're going to talk about this once we talk about the scanning component here. All right. By the way, JP Morgan was our trade of the day 2 days ago in one of our other webinars. And how did we find this trade? Well, with this dashboard. Very fast and very easy. Okay. And there's one more indicator, which we just recently, when I say recently, a couple of weeks ago, added to the dashboard. It's called corporate actions. This one here. This is merely a convenience indicator showing you on the chart when are the next earnings or DivX dates coming up. So in this case, we can see dividends just happened in January. There's no new dividend or DivX date scheduled yet, but the next earnings for JP Morgan are already scheduled for April 14. Something just of interest to note on the chart, because sometimes you don't really want to get into a trade when earnings are coming up. Earnings are always, full of surprises, and trading, oftentimes you don't want to keep away from surprising events. So perhaps something to be aware of, and you can see it now directly on the chart via this little earnings symbol here, or this D, the green one, for dividends. All right. Okay. Let me explain you one more thing. What if you mess up? And I say mess up in quotes. Let's say you go and accidentally delete an indicator on the chart, or this one here. What can you do? Well, there's multiple ways to fix this. One way to fix it is to go to this indicators menu here and re-add these indicators. But for this, you would need to know the names. So all our indicators, which are, the custom indicators, the ones that are not built into TradingView already, all our indicators, they have the preface called trading indicators. So if you could type in trading indicators, our company name, you can also see it down here, or up here, trading indicators. Yeah, you see all the indicators that come with with our company. And you can see Liquidity IQ here, you can see MA Rush, you can see Trend Radar, and you can click on these indicators to re-add these indicators to the chart. Done, that's fine. But what you can also do, let's say you mess up again, all right, and they're all gone now, or potentially gone. You can simply click this reset button down here. You click reset, you can see once this is done, also the default view, the standard view is reestablished of our indicators. All right, so this is how, you can, if you mess something up, simply click this reset button here to go back to the defaults. There's even a bigger reset possible in the dashboard. I'm going to talk about this in a bit, which is available through this menu here, the settings menu. Reset the entire dashboard, including the chart, to its default settings. How this works, we're going to see a bit later. Okay, so this is for the charting component, but a few more things. It is possible to customize this charting component. And what you can do, for example, is you can right-click onto the chart and go to settings here. In this case, you can actually customize the chart. I'll let you play around with this on your own. You can change how the candles are being displayed. You can change the background color of your chart, maybe to, I don't know, white or something crazy, and so forth. And once again, if you mess up, if you find a setting which you don't like, or you want to go back to the default, what's the trick? Yeah, you know it already. You go down to reset here, you click on it, and you go back to the default settings. One thing I like to do, which is different from the default, is I like to hide these little grid lines here. These little white lines, maybe it's a bit hard to see on your screen, but I can see them clearly on my chart. To me, they're not necessary. I like to hide them. So what you can do is you can, once again, right-click onto the chart, go to settings, go to canvas here, and here on the grid lines, select none, hide those grid lines. It just looks a bit cleaner, and this is how I like it. And the good thing is that all these settings that you choose, they will be remembered. So next time you log in, the chart will open up exactly like this. All right, so this is how the charting components works. There's just one more thing I like to point out to you. I personally because I'm very used to the dashboard already. I'm very used to the indicators. I personally don't like these labels on the chart, the support zone labels or resistance zone labels, the liquidity capture labels, because I can see them anyways. I don't need the labels for this. So I'm going to try to hide those. This can be done in the settings of our liquidity IQ indicator. So every indicator has settings. You can see the settings icon here for each indicator. You click on it, okay? And then you can customize the appearance of the indicator. So for example, I like to hide my support and resistance lines. I like to hide my zone break labels and my liquidity capture labels. Once done, it just looks a bit cleaner to me. You can see it here. All these labels are not shown anymore, and it's just a bit cleaner. All right. Okay. One more thing. What but I also don't like to see are these zone break labels here on the chart, or these like little symbols here. So this is also something I personally hide. So what you can do, once again, you can go to the settings here and turn off zone break arrows. You do this, and now this is the setting that I use for my liquidity IQ indicator. But let me just quickly see one more thing here on the chart. Yes. What you can also do is you can use these drawing tools on the left-hand side. Now, these are all standard drawing tools in TradingView. So, for example, I've done this in the past a couple of times. You can put some notes here. I don't know, but what can you say about JP Morgan? Pullback in a long-term uptrend, whatever it might be. All right, you can write this here. And these notes or these annotations, as you may call them, they also will be remembered. So you can put text, you can put Fibonacci levels here if you feel like it. Like, for example, this Fib retracement here. If you want to measure things out, you can put this on the chart. You can draw certain arrows or markers onto the chart. Maybe, okay, I see a big uptrend move here, or whatever you want to do. And these things will be remembered as well. And once again, if you want to get rid of them, you can either use this trash can icon here, remove all these drawings. You can see it here, or you can even temporarily hide them. Maybe you don't want to remove them completely. I just want to hide them temporarily. For this, you can use this symbol down here. You can see it. Hide drawings. Oh, all gone. Okay. Maybe even hide indicators. Indicators again, or hide both. Hide my drawings and my indicators. Hide all. They're all hidden now, but they're still there. That's the difference between this delete trash can icon here, which will delete them for good. This is just a hiding feature here. And then you can unhide them. Done. And they're back. Okay. And of course, you can also individually just simply press delete to delete these drawings on the chart. All right. So this is how the chart works. But two more things. Keep saying this. You can switch to full screen mode. It's an option up here. This one here, full screen mode. You can click on it, and then you can view the chart in full screen. This works. The only thing that doesn't, it's not possible here, is that you don't have your drawing tools available. That's the limitation of this TradingView chart at the moment. The other thing that you can do is you can take a snapshot of your chart. Let's say we want to take a snapshot of the chart, maybe you can copy it or download it, or maybe paste it into a document, or share it with a friend, or put it into an email. No problem. You can do this with this option here. All right, so this concludes pretty much the charting component. The last thing I want to point out here at this point is that there's also this tab. It's called a live tab. Now, the market is open right now. It's 12:43 Eastern time, so the market is definitely open. And perhaps you want to check, okay, where is JP Morgan trading right now? So this is the end of day. Today's Thursday. So what you see here on the chart is the end of day data from the last completed trading day, which is Wednesday, the day before. And you can see here, so it's February 25th, that's a Wednesday. That's what you see on the chart, on this end of day chart. But perhaps you want to check quickly, where is JP Morgan trading right now, this moment? Okay, what you can do is you can click on this live component here. Click on it, and you can see, okay, JP Morgan right now is trading at 304.71. So this allows you to go to this live mode. For most stocks, I should say this, the data is delayed by 15 minutes, which I believe is acceptable. At least it gives you an idea. When you execute with your broker, of course, you would double check this anyways. Okay, for some symbols like FX symbols or crypto symbols, you will get real-time data here in the live mode. A limitation of the live mode is that you cannot put our custom indicators on the chart. Okay, so our liquidity IQ indicator, our MA rush indicator, our trend radar indicator, and so forth, they cannot be added to this live mode. That's the limitation that we have to live with. But in the live mode, what you can also do is you can switch to different time frames. You can go to the 1 minute chart, for example. There's now a 1 minute chart of JP Morgan, to the 30-minute chart, or whatever time frame you may have in mind. Okay, so this is how this live mode works. It is meant for you as a quick convenience to check, hey, where are prices right now once the market is open. All right. So this concludes our charting component for the dashboards. I'm going to go quickly back to the slides. And Donna, I saw your questions. We're going to have to get to those questions at the very end of this bootcamp, I'm afraid. All right. But I'm going to keep them open. And but any interpretation of particular symbols, we're going to keep this for the very end, because the focus today is to really go through the features of the dashboard first. All right, so quickly going back to my slides, charts and indicators. I mentioned the indicators that we have added besides the standard built-in indicators, which is Liquidity IQ, the instant technical analysis in terms of liquidity levels on your chart. We'll also show you liquidity capture events. Mirage is our trend or momentum indicator, showing you whether we are currently bullish or bearish, how long this trend has been going on, and whether prices are extended if we're very far away from our lines, or whether we came down to the mean, so to say. We have trend radar, which allows you to see at a glance whether we currently have a pullback or whether trend is reversing and so forth. And we have our corporate actions indicator showing you when are dividend or DivX dates coming up or earnings dates coming up. And of course, actually, this is one thing I forgot to mention, is you can also add any of the hundreds of built-in trading view indicators to your chart. Let me quickly show you how this can be done. So back to the dashboard, you can use this indicators button here to add any of the trading view indicators to the chart. There's so many. There's no limit as to how many you want to add. You can add all these, not just below the price chart, but also, let me just find maybe something that's actually on the chart, like the average price and so forth. All these things can be added to the chart. And once again, if you messed up and don't know how to go back to the default view, click reset and you're back to the default view. All right, so this is the charting component of the dashboard. Now, we talked about the IQ chart, which is based on end of day data, and we have the live chart, which allows you to see streaming data for stocks, ETFs, FX, and cryptos, but by default, it's delayed by 15 minutes. All right, now moving on to the, I would say, the lifeblood of the indicator, which is the scanner. Because, charting is nice, charting is great, it's important, but of course the power, the real power of our dashboard comes in with the scanning component, the scanner of the dashboard. Now, the scanner is extremely powerful, and truth be told, most of what I'm going to be talking probably in the next hour or perhaps 1.5 hours is about the scanner, because this is really where the rubber hits the road, because there's so many things you can scan for, so many different aspects you can find using our scanner. Now, let me just ease in. So let's just talk about how the scanner works in principle. We're going to go through all these features step by step. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard because I like to explain them using the dashboard rather than just looking at slides. Okay, so the scanner is on the left-hand side. You can see it here. That's our scanning component. You will see, depending on whether you're looking for the first time or perhaps you've already customized it a little bit, you may see different scan columns here. So we can see symbol here, that's the symbol, the ticker name, the asset class, name, price, and so forth. This is, all listed here. And underneath you have your values. For example, A stands for Agilent, it's a stock. And you can see all these different values that come with this stock, with this particular symbol. But the first thing I'd like to point out is that what you see here in your scanner, scan columns, this can be completely customized. And in fact, what you see here is really just a small subset of what you can scan for. If you want to see the full list, what you can do is you can go to this column configurator button here. This green button all the way on the left-hand side. You see this green button here with those little lines? That's our column configurator. It's not the most sexy name, I admit, but we're not able to find a better one. So you click on it, and in there you can see all the different columns you can add to your scanner. So, and all the ones which have a check mark here, these are the ones which are currently displayed on your scanner. So for example, here, if you perhaps want to add the currency of a symbol, click on this one here and the currency will now be added here. And you can see what is the trading currency of the symbol. For example, here, Agilent trades in US dollars. A2A, a stock in Italy, yeah, and euros. A2M.AX, a stock that trades in Australia, in Australian dollars, and so forth. Could have added this column here. Perhaps it adds useful information to your process. I personally don't really care so much about it, but perhaps it's important to you, so you can enable this scan column via this column configurator here. There's so many different options here. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to go, and this, I know it may sound very, very tedious, but I'm going to go through every single scan column and explain to you what it actually means and what it does. So I think that's important to understand. But for now, let's just try to understand how the scanner works. All right, so the lifeblood of the scanner is a filtering mechanism. If you use Excel, you may have used filters before. So filters allows you to, filter things out. To only keep certain elements in your scanner which qualify. Let me give you an example. Maybe you're only interested in stocks. You don't care about ETFs, you don't care about FX and cryptos and all the other asset classes that we have in the dashboard. What you could do is you can click on the filter to the right-hand side of this asset class column. The asset class is the type of the ticker. Click on this filter to the right-hand side, this symbol here, and perhaps only select the first one here, stocks. You click on it, a couple of things have happened now. First off, you will now see that this filter here has turned yellow. You see this one here? Meaning we currently have a filter applied to this column here, to the asset class column. The second thing that you will see, really many things has happened, is down here where it says, okay, we're looking at the first 20 symbols of 4,996 filtered symbols of our overall total of 5,811 symbols. So if you ever see this thing here, it means some kind of filter is enabled, because now we're not seeing our 5,811 symbols anymore. It's, in quotes, only 4,996. The third thing that you will notice is this yellow button here. This one just appeared. It wasn't there before. This is a button which allows you to clear all filters from your scanner. You click on it, all the filters are gone. I'm going to do this in a second. And the third one is, as soon as a filter is applied, you will also see this button here. This wasn't here before, Add Dynamic Watch List. We're going to get to this a bit later. So 4 things just happen now. I'm going to do it one more time so you can see all these things happening. So I'm going to clear all my filters. I'm going to click this button here. All filters are gone. This button is gone. This yellow button is gone. And down here it says, okay, we are currently looking at the first page of our 5,811 symbols. Let me do it one more time. I go to Asset Class and I click Stock. And remember, there's going to be this button occurring. This yellow button will come up here and our label down here will change. See all these things happening? All these are indications that currently a filter is applied to your dashboard. All right. Okay, let's continue. It is possible to apply multiple filters to your dashboard. Okay. How can this be done? In various ways. First off, what we could do is, in addition to stocks, perhaps you're also interested, which is a common thing, perhaps, to also trade ETFs. What you can do is you can also select the ETF box here. You click on it, and you can see now we're currently looking at 5,663 symbols. You can see the vast majority of the symbols that we're tracking, they are in the stocks and ETF space. Like 5,663 of 5,800. Yeah, that's pretty much 7% of the symbols that we're scanning through on the stocks and ETF space. That's also the intent of the dashboard. All right. So now we have 2 filters on. You can see this here because both filters are listed here, ETF, comma, stock. That's actually listed here. If I add perhaps one more symbol to it, look what happened to this label here. Maybe cryptos as well. Crypto, ETF, stock, dot, dot, dot. I can see directly in here what are the filter criteria. And we could now delete or clear these filters by clicking this button here. Or what you can also do, you can go to this yellow filter icon here and just deselect these filters. And you're done. All right, perfect. This is how you can apply multiple filters. But let's push this a bit further. Let's say, okay, we are interested in stocks and ETFs. We had this before, but only if they are trading in US dollars. I don't care about stocks which are trading in euros or Australian dollars. I'm only interested in US dollar denominated stocks. What we can do is we can apply another filter based on a different scan column. In this case, the currency column. So once again, I click on it, on this filter icon next to the right of currency, and select in here US dollar. I click on it, and now we're down to 4,865 symbols of 5,811. So you can see, 1,000 symbols in our dashboard. They're not based in US dollars. They're based on a foreign currency. Okay? And you can add new scan criteria to it. You can perhaps, look at option stuff. I'm going to talk about these things later on, and so forth and so forth. You can keep adding filters to your scanner, narrowing down the list more and more and more. To the point, this is where the real power comes in. I'm just adding randomly some stuff in here, to the point where you will have a very manageable list of symbols left. This is how we use the scanner. We're starting from a very large set of symbols, and then we're narrowing it down by applying filter and filter and filter until we find what we're looking for. Because right now, for example, we're down. I just randomly picked something here. There's no use case for this. But now we're down to only 13 symbols of our 5,811 just by simply applying these filters over and over again. This is how you will use the dashboard. You're just going to mix and match your filters until you find what you're looking for. And once you get the hang of it, you will see that this is a very, very fast process. Please pay attention how quickly everything updated. I'm going to do it one more time. And once again, you already know how to clear these filters. It's this yellow button here. Everything will be gone for all the filters on the chart, even across multiple columns. So I click on it. They're all gone. We're back to 5,811. So now, once again, I'm going to randomly apply some filters to it and just see how fast this whole thing updates. Okay, so let's say maybe I'm only interested in cryptos, which trade above $25. And that's it. Already down to 10 symbols. Do you see this? In the blink of an eye. All right. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to clear the filters again because there's one more thing I want to mention. Okay, so let's say, we only want to, this is a general thing that we have. Let's say as a trader, we are only interested in symbols which are denominated in US dollars. We don't care about all the other currencies. Maybe I can't even trade those, or I don't want to do any currency exchanges to, purchase these assets. So what I can do is I can, let's say, select the US dollar here under currency. And now I know, okay, every single symbol in my scanner is in US dollars. But, since I already know this now, there's really no use in having this column still on the chart. That's a good point. So what you then can do is you can go to your column configurator here, this green button here, and deselect currency. Let me just find it. It's up here. I deselect it. And the cool thing is, once I do this, the filter will stay on. The column is just hidden, but the filter will stay on. You know this. You know that the filter is on because you have the evidence right here. You have this yellow button here to clear the filters. You know there must be some filter on. You can see down here, okay, we are filtering down from 5,811 symbols to only 4,920. And we have this button here. I'm going to talk about this button later on. So you know there's a filter on by these indications, but even though the column itself is not shown anymore. Okay? But there's another indication for this. If you go back to your column configurator, what do you see to the right of the currency column here? The filter icon. Another indication, hey, there's currently a filter applied to currency. Okay, that's a little trick. All right, so these are the filters. This is how they work. Just two more things. For some symbols, filtering work. Oh, for some columns, filtering works a bit differently. Let me give you an example. Let's say the name column. Perhaps you are searching for. You don't really know what your stock is called. Maybe you're looking for, I don't know, uh, any stock or any ticker which has the word gold in its name, hypothetically. So what you can do, you can simply type in gold in here, and the result of this will be, okay, now I see all the different tickers which have gold in there. So filters can also be typed in some cases. You have this little text field here. You see this? And once you take it out, you're back to the regular one. This is one way to do it. Another example of this is a filter associated with a column called industry. You can see this one here. This column here, if enabled, shows you what is the industry group of a particular stock. For example, for Agilent here, that's a stock in healthcare. That's the sector. And the industry group, this column here, is diagnostics and research. Now, there are hundreds of industry groups. It would not be practical to list them all like in a drop down like this. Impossible. We do this for sectors, the S&P 500 sectors, because there are only 11, but we cannot do this for an industry group. It would just be too long. This is another reason why in these cases, you would need to type in what this industry group should be. For example, diagnostics, type it in. Doesn't have to be the complete word. Then you can see all the different symbols in that industry group. All right. So that's a bit of a different use of these filters. All right. So I'm going to clear the filter one more time here because I want to talk about this box here. I use this all the time because it's a quick name filter. You already know what this filter here name. This one works very similarly, with the difference that this search box here not only looks for a match in the name column, this one here, but also in the symbol column. So that's a bit of a different logic here. For example, if I already know what is the ticker name, what is the symbol of my stock, let's say Tesla, I can just simply type it in here, TSLA, it will find it for me because it looks under name and under symbol here. Okay, but I can also type in, of course, Tesla here. I will find, oops, I have to type it properly. I will find it as well. One thing to note, and I received emails quite a few times about this, is sometimes you forget that you have something typed in here. For example, maybe you look for something. Just think about perhaps what is a very common name. Maybe the word "and." Whatever. For some reason, you type this one in here, and everything looks normal. But of course, there are many, many stocks which have the word "and" in its name. Okay, that's fine. But then you forget about this. You forget that you typed something in here and you perhaps want to search for something. Maybe you'll see, okay, I want to find, I don't know, cryptos. You click on cryptos here on asset class and you wonder, why are there only 2 cryptos here? Well, the reason is that there are actually 2 filters applied to this. We have this AND filter here, which looks for the name and the symbol. And we have this asset class filter. And of course, this only brings it down to 2. So keep this in mind that, if this something is typed in here, this is also a filter that is applied. So clear it. Now we can see all the cryptos, all the 55 cryptos that we're currently tracking. Okay, so I'm going to clear this filter one more time. Okay, next. What is enabled by default is that, if you can't fit all your scan columns onto the scanner here, you can scroll horizontally. You can see it here. There's a little scroll bar here allowing you to scroll horizontally. That's possible to see all the columns. So this is enabled by default. What you can also see, as we scroll to the right-hand side, the first column here, the symbol column, is fixated. It stays where it is. It's a feature which we have added, I don't know, maybe half a year ago to the dashboard, allowing you to quickly see, hey, what am I actually looking at here? So this is Agilent, symbol A, which currently has earnings coming up and a heat index of 3.9 or whatever it might be. Okay, so it's a convenience feature to see right off the bat, hey, what is the symbol we're dealing with? If you don't like this fixated column here, you can disable it it. We call this freeze column. There's a setting. Just go back here. There's a setting here in the settings. If you go to scanner, that's a scanner setting, and disable freeze symbol column, this one here, you disable it, and then you scroll the entire thing. You see? Maybe you don't like scrolling. Very few people don't like it. Most people like the scrolling feature, the horizontal scrolling feature here. This can also be disabled. Let me show you what happens then. I'm going to go back one more time to the settings, to my scanner settings here, and I will disable scroll table columns. I click on it, and now the scroll bar here is gone. And you may wonder, hey, where now are all the columns here which were there? How can I get to them? Well, the trick now to get to them is via this hamburger menu, these 3 lines here, that's how it's called. Via this menu here, you click on it, it will expand. You click on it twice, in fact, then you can see all the different columns here. That's one way to do it. I never use this feature, but perhaps you like it for some reason. Feel free to use it. This is available if you can't fit all the columns onto the scanner and horizontal scrolling is disabled. All right. So let me enable back both features, the scrolling feature, scroll bars back, and the freeze symbol column here as well. All right. Now, move on. Another feature which we have recently added is the ability to change the order of the columns. This was requested by a user. So let's say you don't really like asset class right next to the right of symbol. Maybe you want to see the name first and then the asset class. All right, we can do this now. You will first need to enable reorder columns here. See this little item here in the settings. You enable it. It's enabled now. And then you will see these little 6 dots to the left of the column. And you can drag this one. For example, you can drag asset class now to the right of name. There we go. Oops, one to money. There we go. Sorry, it's a bit finicky. There we go. So symbol, name, asset class. And this will be remembered. Next time you log in, you will see asset class here. You can maybe even move it all the way down here, and maybe you can move industry group here, and you can go crazy. This will be remembered. Now, we've received requests. Hey, Daniel, I messed up. I moved everything around now. I don't know what the default order was again. How can I go back to these standard settings? Great question. There is a way to do it. In the settings up here, go to the dashboard settings on the dashboard and go all the way down. It's called reset to default settings. This will reset the entire dashboard to what it used to be at the beginning. Let me just do this. I'm going to click here, reset to default. You need to confirm it. Yeah, I need to confirm it. I'll say, yes, let's do it. The dashboard will then completely reload. Just give it a second. Or just restart in just a second. And once it does, everything will be reset to where it was in the beginning. Now we've added this just to, help you guys to go back to what it used to be. And you can now see the default settings of the dashboard. And you can see even my columns here have changed because I didn't have the default settings of the dashboard when I showed you the dashboard in the first place. Okay. So what else do we have? Let me quickly see. I believe that's pretty much it. Yeah, for the scanning component. This is how the scanner works. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, the pagination. Okay, so let's say I'm going to randomly pick some criteria here again. Maybe I'm interested in stocks who are trading above $50, but below $100. Yes, we can do multiple selection as well, for example, for the price column. And maybe I want to have symbols which are currently trading near the all-time high. So maybe, and I explain these in a bit, maybe near the top 5% of the all-time highs. Now we're down to 290 symbols, and maybe the beta of these symbols is more than 1.5. They're quite volatile. Okay, so what we can see here, for example, is that we now have only, beta greater than 1. Perfect. So I have 59 symbols remaining. How can we get to all these 15 symbols? Because on the scan page here, if you count up these symbols, even if I scroll down a little bit here, there are only 20 symbols shown on this page here. How can we get to the other ones? Well, this is where this pagination comes, and you can see these buttons here. You can just go through this list here. You can see, I click on it, and the symbols the remaining symbols will be shown. We call this pagination. Okay, this is important too. All right, so let me just quickly check if my filter worked. Prices between 50 and 100 and near the all-time highs, near the highs of the last 52 weeks. You can see here in Alcoa, yeah, where are we trading? Look at the last 52 weeks, very damn close to the high point. 3.06% off the highs. I'm going to explain all these columns just a bit later. All right, so removing this filter one more time. Perfect. All right, so this explains, or this is about the scanning component, but there's more. Back to my slides. Okay, so we talked about hiding and showing columns, to scroll through columns, to enable and disable filters, the quick search, this little box where you could put your search term in there. We could do freeze symbol column to keep that first column always shown, the ticker name, and reorder columns. All this have been shown now. Let's move on. Watch lists. Watch list is another important thing of the dashboard. It's something I use every single day. And if you have already joined my live scanning sessions on the weekends, you know that I'm creating watch lists for you guys. So watch lists can even be shared. Right now, watch lists can only be shared from, a member of our team with our users, not vice versa, but perhaps something in the future, sometime in the future, we're going to add also another sharing feature where users can share watch lists with each other. We'll see. All right, so let's talk about watch lists. The purpose of any watch list is to get quick access to a subset of symbols. This is really what watch list is just all about. And you can really create really anything based on these watch lists. They're very versatile. And in fact, we have 4 different types of watch lists. So we have regular watch lists. I'm going to show it to you. We have dynamic watch lists, which are based on scan criteria. We have shared watch lists, which are watches which I might be sharing with you. And we have something called dashboard watch lists. All right, how does this work? I'm going to start, it's the easiest one to explain. I'm going to start with the dashboard watch list first. So back to the scanner. All right, so we're back here. And what is a dashboard watch list? So first of all, watch list can be found under this button here. You can see it says all symbols, which basically means right now we're just seeing all the symbols in our scanner, like all the symbols that we're currently tracking, all the 5,811 symbols. But remember, a watch list is about a subset of these symbols, a predefined subset of these symbols. So what could these subsets be? Well, what we've done at Trading Indicators for the dashboard is that we have created 3 predefined subsets for you. They're there by default. You can see them all the time. A subset for the NASDAQ 100, a subset for the S&P 500 stocks, and a subset for the S&P 500 sectors. Let me just show you how this works. You can click on these ones, like NASDAQ 100. And once I clicked on, you can first of all see, okay, now the NASDAQ 100 is shown here as a label on the button. And in my scanner now, we have the 101 NASDAQ 100 stocks, like Apple and Airbnb and Adobe and so forth. Just allowing you to see, okay, these are the NASDAQ 100 stocks. Now, of course, once you've loaded the subset, you can apply additional filters to it. Maybe you want to see, okay, which of the NASDAQ 100 stocks currently is the strongest this year, which has gone up the most this year. Now, we actually have a scanner for this, a column for this. It's called year to date. This one here, YTD. Let me enable it. And let's see which one has gone up the most. So I can, one thing I forgot, guys. In the scanner, I completely forgot to explain this to you. You can also sort. You can sort your values simply by clicking on this column here, on any column. Any column is clickable. It's not the scanner icon. It's the column name itself. You can click on it. And right now I'm sorting from lowest to highest. And of our NASDAQ 100 stocks, the stock, that's a software stock, no big surprise there. The stock that has lost the most since the beginning of the year is Atlassian Corporation. Yeah, it's a software stock, a software development stock. I believe they're suffering from all the AI tools which are out there right now. Nobody really needs those fancy programming environments anymore when AI can do most of the programming. My guess why they're suffering. And if you look at the chart, you will see, okay, this one lost from 327. Oh, actually, from the beginning of the year, I should go. From the beginning of the year, from 2026, like from 164 down to 73, it lost 74%. Yeah, because I was able to sort it. And so this is from sorting from lowest to highest, from negative here. And if I click on it again, I can sort from highest to lowest. And I can see, okay, while software stocks really dropped, chip stocks like Western Digital, yeah, has gained the most since the beginning of the year, up 64% in our Nasdaq 100 stocks. So you can sort these watch lists or really anything in your scanner, and you can apply filters to it as well. Maybe I only want to see the stocks which gain at least 25%. Okay, so now we're down to 9 by applying a filter to this Nasdaq 100 dashboard watch list. And of course, once you're in the watch list, you can go back to where you were in the beginning by clicking once again on this button here and select all symbols. You're back to where you were in the beginning. The filter is kept, so make sure you also delete the filter if you don't want to see all the symbols in your scanner again. Okay, so these are dashboard watch lists. But there are three other types of watch lists here as well. So let's go talk about what we call regular watch list. So a regular watch list is a watch list where you, as a user, can pick these symbols that you want to add to your watch list. All right. So how is this possible? Let me show you. So first of all, for a user or a regular watch list, what you want to do is you want to first create it. So what you do, you once again click on this drop down here. You go all the way down. I have a lot of watch lists. These are all my regular watch lists. You see how many I've created. I'm telling you, I'm using this every single day. So these are all my watch lists. It's crazy. And I want to create a new watch list. All right. You click create down here. It's called add watch list. Just move this thing away. All right. Add watch list, create. You click on it and you give this watch list a name. Maybe my favorite stocks, whatever, any name you want. You click create, and this watch list is now created. And once created, it will now be here in my drop down. I click on my drop down again. I can see here, these are ordered alphabetically. My favorite stocks is the first one in here. I click on it. No big surprise, this watch list is empty. Let's add some symbols to this watch list. There are multiple ways to do it. One quick way, even though I almost never use this way, how to add a watch list is this button here. So you're in your watches already. You can click add symbol, and you can just search in here. Okay, maybe I want to add Tesla to this watch list. I click on it, and I add it, and it's now in my watch list here. That's one way to do it. But typically, the way we add symbols to a watch list is from our all symbol scanner. So I'm going to go back to all symbols, back to our 5,811 symbols here. And now I'm just finding my symbols in here, either by filtering. Maybe I want to find that stock. Hey, which one has gone up at least, let's say, I don't know, 50% today, and maybe a price above $50. And I got like a nice little list here. And perhaps this one I want to add to it. Micro. Oh, this one jumped up. Let me just find it better. SanDisk. SanDisk is a better example. So SanDisk here, went up like crazy. We know this already. Maybe this is what I want to add to my watch list. What I can do, I can right-click on this row here, add SNDK to, and you pick your watch list up here. My favorite watch list. Done. Another way to do it. You can also just find your symbol directly. Say, hey, I want to add Tesla. Oh, sorry, we already had Tesla. Maybe I want to add Microsoft to it. Okay. I search for Microsoft, and I add it to it. Done. All right, so this is how you can add symbols to your watch list. And then when you go back to your watch list, you will now click on my favorite stocks, and then you should see all 3 symbols in your watch list. Haha, why is there only one symbol in this watch list? And I'm receiving so many emails for this. What is the reason for this? Any ideas? Yeah, that's an obvious reason for this. It's because of this text filter here. Yeah, we still have MSFT in our text box here, which is a filter applied to this watch list. Let's remove it. And once done, you can see all 3 symbols in that watch list. Just pay attention to this. This is a common mistake users do from time to time. Okay, so this is how you can add symbols to your watch list, but there are other ways too. So let me go back one more time to all stocks. What you can also do is what's called multiple selection. So what is multiple selection? So let's say you want to create a watch list, which is the combination of all the Nasdaq 100 stocks and all the S&P 500 stocks, for whatever reason. How can we do this? Would you agree with me that it is not very practical to just find all these, stocks individually and add to them. It takes way too long. Agreed? So what you can do is, let me just create a new watch list. I'm going to call it the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100. Okay, I created. Done. So how could we now create this watch list? Well, remember, we actually did have already a watch list called NASDAQ 100, let's say. Why don't we just leverage this? All right. So now we already have my NASDAQ 100 stocks. And I could now, in theory, add all these stocks one by one to my watch list. Where is it? Yeah, the S&P 500 watch list. Once again, very impractical. This would take forever. Nobody would ever do it. Agreed? What you can do instead is you can use a shortcut. You can use, and Windows users will know this, Mac users, I think it's Command A. You can use Control A on your dashboard. On your keyboard, sorry, on your keyboard. I'm going to do this. I'm going to press Control and then A. And once done, look what happened here. All the symbols are now selected in my scanner. And then I can do a right click anywhere and say add symbols. All the symbols in my scanner right now, add symbols to my watch list. My S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 watch list. I click on it. So take a second. And now all the symbols will be added to this watch list at once. And if I go back now to that watch list, S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100, I can see now this one has exactly 101 symbols. So all the NASDAQ symbols are in there as well. Okay, let's do the same thing for S&P 500. So once again, we're going to go to our dashboard watch list here. In this case, we select S&P 500. You know the drill. Control A or Command A if you're on the Mac. Right click, add symbols to the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100. Takes a little while. And the symbols are now added to it. And then you can go to this watch list. Yeah, you can see now this watch list has now 517 symbols. Why not 600 something? Because of course there's an overlap between these two sets. Yeah, the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 are not mutually exclusive, of course. So, but 517 symbols are now in this watch list, comprising of all the symbols of the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. One last thing I want to show you. What you can also do, this is a bit of an advanced feature. You can also do multiple selection by holding the Shift or the Control key down. Let me show you how this is done. I'm going to hold Control down now. Control's clicked. I click on one row, then go down and click on another row. You can see now these different areas being selected here. This is possible with multiple selection by holding down the Control key. I now release Control. I can do right click and now add all these selected symbols to a watch list. Yeah, maybe my favorite stock watch list. And one more thing, you can also hold Shift down. If you hold Shift down and do a click, and then you go down, then all the stocks between the first click and the second click will be selected. You can see it here. Once again, you can do right click then and add these to the watch list. All right. Watch lists can also be renamed. So let's say you made a mistake in renaming your watch list. Maybe you didn't like my favorite stocks. It's not a good name. You can rename this watch list by simply clicking this little pencil icon, give it a different name. My stocks, maybe that's what you wanted to say. You click rename and it's done. And watch lists can also be deleted by using this trash can icon here. The last setting here is something that you will not see. This is an option that only I have as an administrator. It's an option to share a watch list of users. You will not see this, but of course you can see the contents later on, but you will not have the sharing capability. Okay. All right. Okay. One more thing I need to explain. You can also import watch lists. Okay. Instead of adding symbols the way I've shown you, symbols can also be imported into a watch list. How is this possible? Well, let me show you first how this can work. For example, let's say let's say you have an Excel spreadsheet, something like this, where you are having some stocks listed, like IBM, Tesla, all in column A of your spreadsheet. Maybe some other stuff here. Maybe what else could we add to it? JP Morgan, maybe whatever it might be. So you can just add your symbols here in column A, and maybe there's also some bogus symbols like this one here. Whatever it might be. You add some stuff to it, to this list, column A. it is possible to import these symbols directly from a spreadsheet, like Excel or Google Sheets, into the dashboard, into a dashboard watch list. How does this work? Well, the first thing that you need to do, I'm going to show you here in case of Excel, you need to save this spreadsheet as a CSV file. It's got a comma separated file. In Excel, it's quite easy. What you'll do is you go to Save As, okay? And here under the type, by default, the Excel workbook is here selected, but on this drop down here, you will go down and select comma delimited CSV or comma separated values, comma delimited. You click on it, you give it a name, my stocks for today, whatever it might be, any name you want. You save it. It's now saved to your file system. And then what you can do in your dashboard, you can once again go down to your drop down here, to this button here. You go all the way down and you can click this import button here. Okay, I want to import now a bunch of stocks. You click on it. You will select now the file that you've saved, the favorite stocks for today, the CSV file. You click open. You give this watch list a name. By default, it will be the name of the file that you're trying to import. That's fine for me. And you click create, and these stocks will now be imported. Let's go to this one. All right, I'm going to go back to my drop down here, my favorite stocks for today. There we go. And we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stocks in here. Let me say 8. Why 8? Didn't we have more in here? Didn't we have 9 in here? Yes, we had 9 in here. But the way this import process works is that symbols which are not recognized by the dashboard, like this bogus symbols here, they will simply be ignored. So don't worry if you have anything in there which doesn't make sense or which you're not sure about. These will simply be ignored. You can't break the import process that way. All right. What you can also do is you can add symbols from a spreadsheet to an already existing watch list. All right, how does this work? So this was for using these symbols to create a brand new watch list. How can we use these symbols to import them to an already existing watch list? That's possible too. Well, let's say we have already our watch list. Maybe my top stocks. That's the watch list that we already had. Well, okay, what we can do is we can click on the import button, like this one on the left-hand side with the arrow in, next to my top stocks. You click on it. Once again, the file system will go up. And you can, for example, import now fave stocks for today into that watch list. And once done, all these stocks will now be available in this watch list as well. And there's one more feature which I wanted you to show is you can directly also import, that's something we've added recently, a watch list directly from TradingView. So I'm going to switch over to TradingView here. All right. So this is my actual TradingView account, the actual TradingView. And in TradingView, of course, you can create watch lists as well. For example, here I have it, a watch list called stocks, which whatever content it might be. You can see it here. This is my content of that particular watch list. And this can be much, much longer. It doesn't have to be only a couple of symbols. What you can do in TradingView is you can click on these dots. Oh, sorry, you can click on this icon here to make it big. And then you go here on this download icon here. Now, it saves it to file. In this case, it's called stocks in brackets 6 because I've saved this multiple times. And you can just use this file now to import it into the dashboard. You don't have to do any changes. Let me show you how this works. So I'm going to go back one more time to our dashboard here. I'm going to go to the import button at the end here of this drop down. I click on it, import, and now I'll select this stocks in brackets 6 that came directly from TradingView. I click open and give it a nice name, top stocks or whatever you want to call it. You click create, and once done, these ones are now available. If I can find them, there we go, directly in the dashboard from TradingView, imported into the dashboard. Another convenience feature that we have. So these are regular watch lists. I hope you guys are still following. I told you it's going to be a long boot camp, but I really want to explain to you every single feature that we are offering because we worked so hard on all of these, and I think it's important so you can see what are the capabilities and how you can take advantage of all these features. Okay, so next is dynamic watch list. What are dynamic watch lists? Okay, so now we've talked about watch lists that already come with the dashboard, like our predefined dashboard watch list, and we talked about watch lists where we basically handpicked the symbols, either through importing or by select them manually and so forth. But it is also possible to create a watch list. Instead of picking the stocks and the symbols manually one by one, we can also create a watch list based on criteria. How does this work? Let's check it out. So one thing you need to know is for a dynamic watch list, to create a dynamic watch list, you always need to be in all symbols. You will not have this option currently if you are any of the other watch lists, either in a predefined watch list or in one of your hand-picked watch lists. You need to be in all symbols. Okay, so I'm going to go back to all symbols. And remember this button which you saw here at the beginning when I applied some filters? This is where dynamic watch lists come in, because these are based on criteria, based on filter criteria, to be precise. But for this, of course, we need to apply some filters first. Okay, so let's find some interesting criteria for us. I'm just going to make some up. I want to see stocks which are priced at least $25, and let's say less than $100. Criteria number one. I want to see stocks which are up at least 50% right now, from the beginning of the year. And let's say where the volume, put the volume column on here, where the volume of that stock is at least 1 million shares traded. All right, that's a nice list. We have 28 stocks selected right now. Perfect. So as soon as you can see it here, as soon as we applied some filters, this yellow button shows up, this little label down here comes up that we're currently filtering. The filter symbol here has become yellow. All these things happen. But what also happened is that this button here, Add Dynamic Watch List, is now showing. This one will allow you to create a watch list based on the currently selected filter criteria. So you have a filter criteria for price, for volume, and for year to date. So I click on this one, I give it a name, like the top stocks 2026, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is. These are the criteria for this dynamic watch list. And now what you will do, you will see now this watch list listed here on the dynamic section here. Oops, right here, top stocks 2026. And let's say I go back, I clear my filters, move on with my lives. If I now go back to this watch list, guess what happens? Yeah, it's loaded back up for our 28 symbols. And the really cool thing about this dynamic watch list is that it is not static. Well, it's dynamic, as the name suggests. The content of this watch list may change every single day, because every single day, new symbols may qualify for these criteria or disqualify from these criteria. This is what we call a dynamic watch list, because it gives us quick access to symbols which currently are qualified for the criteria I have in mind. Of course, right now, these criteria are fairly random, but later on, I'm going to show you some criteria which I actually scan for every single day using dynamic watch list. Another use case for these dynamic watch lists is that these can be used later on also in your trade alerts. Imagine an email coming to your inbox after every trading day with the latest stocks that qualify for these criteria. This is possible as well. And this is exactly how these dynamic watch lists work. Okay? All right. So these are dynamic watch lists based on filter criteria. Just a couple of things to remember. This is only possible if you are in all symbols and if at least one filter is enabled. If no filter is enabled, like right now, you don't see this button here. You need to be in all symbols, and at least one symbol needs to be enabled. Maybe like the high volume stocks here. I put a volume filter on. Then you can create a dynamic watch list. All right. Okay. And one more thing. And you will know this already if you are following us for our live scanning sessions on the weekend, is it is possible that you will also see shared watch list in your dropdown here. So shared watch lists are watch lists which I may share with you, or perhaps with somebody from the Acorn team. As you may know, Acorn Wealth is also using our dashboard with some other scan criteria. They may also share some watch list with you. And you can see this in your view as follows. So for this, I'm going to switch over to a regular user because it's a bit hard to see in my admin account. Let me go to a regular user. So I'm going to go to a different browser here, this one here. And now I have loaded the dashboard as a regular user. And what you can see in your drop down here, of course, the dashboard watch list, your regular watch list. There's no dynamic watch list right now because we haven't created one. And you can also see the shared watch list. You can see here, for example, I have shared my watch list from our scanning session for the last 5 sessions. Last weekend, the weekend before, and so forth and so forth. You can see them all here listed. And you can click on them to see what's in that watch list. Pretty cool. All right. So this is possible as well. You can see it here in your dropdown. One more feature which I didn't mention yet is that this actually can be customized. Maybe there's somebody of you who doesn't want to see all these shared watch lists, or maybe he wants to clean up this dropdown a little bit. What you can do in the settings is the following. Let me go back to all symbols. You can go to the settings here, settings wheel, and you can go to a feature called watch list selector. It's this one here. You click on it, and in there, you can actually decide, okay, which watch list do I actually want to see when I click on this button here? Maybe you don't want to see any of the shared watch lists. You can simply deselect it, you close it, and once you go back to your button here, these shared watches are no longer shown. Now, of course, you can re-enable it afterwards. I can re-enable it. You can even customize it. Maybe I only want to see the last one from February 21st. Okay, I close it, go back here, I only see the last one. Now, this is how you can customize it completely. So let me go back one more time here and bring it back to default. And of course, you can always reset your dashboard as well. But let me just re-enable it. But you can also do the same thing for the dashboard watch list. Maybe you don't want to see it. Maybe you want to see a subset of them. This is possible here in this watch list visibility settings dialog. All right. Okay, so I think this wraps up the part about our watch lists. Let's move on. I hope you guys are still awake because we have 2 more items to be covered, and then we're going to take a small break, and then we're going to talk about how all the scan columns do and how you can use them to find powerful setups. Sounds good? So please bear with me maybe for 10 more minutes for these 2 items here, and then we're going to continue with the last one here after a break. So trade alerts. I already mentioned trade alerts. So what are trade alerts? Well, trade alerts are ways of you to be notified when something is happening of interest to you. And the emphasis here really is of interest to you, because this can be completely based on your criteria, aka based on your dynamic watch list. This is how you should be receiving trade alerts. All right, how does it work? So, okay, back to the dashboard. It's based on dynamic watch list. So a precondition to use trade alerts is that you have at least one dynamic watch list defined. So if that list here is empty, like under the dynamic section here, you can't use trade alerts. You want to have at least one dynamic watch list created. In my case, I have 2 created. I have Top Stocks 2026, which we created together. And then I have another one here from before, long-term bullish stocks with a pullback to support. Whatever it might be. We're going to come to some of these criteria a bit later on. So these are 2 watches which I have. So what you then can do is you can, doesn't need to be selected. You can do wherever. So I'm going to go back to all symbols. Doesn't really matter. I can go to my settings up here, and I can select trade alerts. So trade alerts has a couple of options. First off, you can configure the email address to which these trade alerts should be sent to. By default, it is the email address that you use to subscribe to the dashboard. Well, in some cases, you may want to have this alert sent to a different address because you may not check this subscription email address very often, or whatever that reason might be. You can edit your email address up here. All right. Secondly, you can opt in or opt out of these trade alerts. And these trade alerts are sent to you about 2 hours after market close, around 6 p.m. Eastern time, every single day. So you can opt out or you can opt in again. Thirdly, you can also decide, hey, for which dynamic watch list, and you really only want to do this for dynamic watch list. We're probably going to make a change to this to the regular watch list in a bit. You can select to which dynamic watch list do I want this trade alert to be sent to. Okay, maybe I want to be alerted of the new content of my long-term bullish stocks with back to support. All right, you can do this. You can opt in, make sure this is on, and then you can close it, and then you will receive an email after market close. If you want to check, hey, what does this email look like? What you can do is you can also send a test email right away. Right now, you either the send now button, just to see, hey, is this really what I'm looking for? What you can also do, on top of this, you can select multiple watch lists that you want to be alerted to. These will come in all in one email, in one big email, they come in, but will cover multiple watch lists. For example, here, long-term bullish stocks with pullback to support and top stocks 2025. And click send now. And then this one will be sent as a test email to you. And after market close, you will get these daily like clockwork. This is how trade alerts work. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to always define your trade alerts. We're going to make some changes to this, always relative to a dynamic watch list, because this is really what you want to be alerted on. What changed in one of my dynamic watch lists? Which stocks qualified for it? Which stocks disqualified for it? Maybe you want to be alerted for this by a trade alert. Okay, so this is how the trade alert works. All right, so I'm going to close it one more time. Just for the trade alerts, just one more thing. Make sure you to always also check your spam folder. Sometimes they're classified by Google or whatever your email provider might be as spam. Make sure you check your spam folder as well. And if you don't receive them for some reason, try to use a different email address up here. Maybe your email provider blocks them for some reason, whatever it might be. Try it with different email addresses as well. All right, so last topic before we take the break. All right, where's it? Here, ease of life utilities. All right, so these are convenience features which we have integrated into the dashboard. What are these? All right, so these are, for example, the ability to take trade notes. We're going to talk about this. You can export your entire scanner or watch list to CSV, to Excel, potentially re-import them afterwards. You can resize panels. We have a light mode where everything is more bright. You can reset your chart and dashboard. We already know this one. We have full screen mode. You can take screenshots. We already know this one. You can chart annotation. So most of these things you already know, but let's talk about trade notes, the export feature, resizing panels, and light versus dark mode. How does this work? All right. So for this, I'm going to go back to the dashboard one more time. And actually, let me show you right off the bat the easiest feature, which is the light mode. And actually, there's one more thing I forgot. You can also switch the language. So let's start with light mode first. So in the settings here, under dashboard, you have a setting called light theme. You can click on it. Once you do, whoa, way too bright for my taste, but you get the whole dashboard in a very bright theme. We are currently working on making this a little bit easy on the eye, but this is how it looks right now. This is the light theme of the dashboard. If you don't like it, you can always switch it back on the dashboard settings, dark theme, and you get back to the darker one, which I personally prefer. All right, so that was the light versus the dark mode. You can also change the language of the dashboard. Now, currently, we have two languages. We have English, which is the default, and we also have German, Deutsch, which is my language, my native language. We have a lot of German clients. You can switch it over, and you can see all the labels here and whatever of the dashboard, the date, and so forth in German instead of English. And potentially in the future, we're going to add some perhaps Spanish or French to the dashboard as well. All right, so this is the language feature. It is also possible to resize your panels. So I like the default, which is 50-50 split between the chart and the scanning component. But perhaps you want to change this. What you can do is you can enable the resizing feature in the settings. Go to the settings one more time and click here on resize panels. You click on it. All right, and then you have this little, middle bar here, I would call it, which when you hover over it, makes the cursor looks like this with two arrows to the left and right. You see it here? The cursor changed. You can use it to either make the chart bigger or potentially make the scanner bigger. Yeah? And this will also be remembered. I personally like it like right in the middle, but this is how you can customize it. All right. So that's possible as well. And the last thing, which is actually something I use all the time, is the ability to add trade notes to a symbol, a time-stamped trade note to a symbol. basically a journaling component. This feature must be enabled first of all. So if you don't see a little notes icon to the left of your symbol column here, you need to enable trade notes. How is this possible? Well, we're going to go once again to your settings here. You go to the scanner settings and you enable notes. So it's disabled right now, but once I enable it, look what happens. I click on it, and now there's a little notes icon to the left of my symbol. And what you can do, I'm just going to sort them. You can now click on those, and you can see what was a trade note related to the symbol. This was just a dummy one from me, but this is how you can annotate your trade notes. And the cool thing here is that these trade notes, they are timestamped. So every day you could add potentially another trade note to it. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to go, let's say, to a symbol which we have added trade notes to for quite a few times. Let's say JP Morgan, JPM. So JP Morgan here, I know this is a symbol that we looked at very frequently. It's down here. I'm going to open it up on the chart, and we can see, okay, JP Morgan, all right, has some trade notes to it. I know that because the notes icon here is filled. This is an indication to me, okay, JP Morgan currently has some trade notes to it. And the last trade note comes from January the 24th. And if you hover over it, you can even see the little preview of that trade note. All right, so I can click on it. It will open up with January 24th. And I can see, okay, this was my trade note from back in January 24th. Now I could go in and maybe edit this trade note. Maybe I made a typo or something. I could even delete it if it was a dummy trade note, or that's what we're going to do right now, or we will add a new trade note to it. But before we do, I'm going to close this one more time. Let me just annotate something here. I'm going to put a trend line here and maybe put something, maybe write some text. JP Morgan is in a long-term uptrend, whatever it might be. Just putting an example here. Put some notes on the chart. I'm going to go back to the trade notes here of JP Morgan. All right. I will use the plus icon here on the scanner, and I'm going to add a new trade note to it. All right. So let's add something to it. Maybe I'm going to write, okay, just a second here before this opens up. Okay. So there we go. Okay, so JP Morgan, JPM for a potential long trade as it approaches support. Whatever. Yeah, you can type your trade note in here. You can even, this is why I annotate my chart, you can even insert a screenshot of your chart into your trade notes by using this button here. All right, do this. It will take a couple of seconds to be added. And the cool thing is all your annotations of that chart will be added as well. You can see it here. It's all there. You can style your trade note. Maybe I want to underline this. Maybe bold, underline. Perfect. And what you could also do, I'm not going to do it right now, you can add a file or a graphics file from your file system to the trade note as well. And I sometimes upload my broker statement to this trade note to see what was my execution, what kind of trade did I execute with this. Just as a reminder for later on to review it. And what you can also do is you can dictate your trade notes. Yeah, if you don't want to type it in, you can even say something like this microphone icon here. This stock is interesting because it has been in a long-term uptrend. Okay, done. Even with my thick German accent, this transcription has worked out. So that's pretty cool. So all these things are possible with trade note, and you can save it. And trade note is now saved to your file system. You can to your account, and you can see it here, and you can even browse through your prior trade notes. Look at these ones here. These were all trade notes which I had with JP Morgan, all time-stamped, giving you basically a trading journal of what you've done with this particular stock. Really cool. What can be done with trade notes. All right, so these were the trade notes, a great journaling feature. And just to give you a bit of a heads up, what we are currently, for example, working on, I work on so many things, but what we're currently working on is the ability to share trade notes. So maybe I am annotating some charts during my live scanning sessions. Maybe I want to share my trade notes with you. This is a feature which is currently in progress, probably being rolled out in the next couple of weeks. All right, so please stay tuned for this. Another convenience feature which we have integrated into the dashboard besides trade notes is the ability to export your scan values to CSV to Excel. And this can be, quite extreme. For example, you could export, let's say, your entire scanner with everything in there, which is currently selected. Of course, it's always based on what is currently shown in the scanner. So if some columns are not shown, or if something is filtered out, you can export everything to Excel. But of course, oftentimes you don't want to export all your stock. So oftentimes you want to apply some filters to it. So what you can do is, oh, by the way, about the filters, one thing I completely forgot to mention when we talked about those is this button here. You see this little filter button? It is enabled by default, but you can click on it. It gets disabled. It gets like all black here. And all the filter symbols to the right of my column, my scan columns here are not shown, meaning you cannot filter anymore. But of course, the purpose of the dashboard is to filter down from a big subset to a smaller subset. I think 99% of the users will always have this one enabled, but you can disable it if you like, and then you can filter. But of course, I keep it enabled. So what I want to do now, just for the fun of it, I'm going to filter down some stocks here. Let's say stocks greater than $50 in US dollar denominated, let's say in the healthcare sector. Okay, let's say these stocks I'm interested in. And let's say I want to export all these values. I'm going to discuss what these values are in just a bit to Excel. What I can do is I can simply click on this button here. It will then download everything to Excel. I can click Open File. You can see it here. And then everything will be in Excel. And there you can potentially analyze it further or share it with something or whatever you want to do. Okay, so you can see this is now available in Excel, another feature which we added as a convenience feature to our dashboard. All right, so let me just go back here. Did we forget something? We talked about trade notes, export to CSV, resizing light theme versus dark theme, resetting the chart on the dashboard, full screen mode chart, annotations and chart screenshots. And of course, you also have the ability to switch languages as well. All right, now the last part, and hopefully it will not be too long, the last part of this bootcamp is about finding powerful setups. I mean, in the end, this is why we want to use the dashboard. It's nice to have all these quality and ease of life features, but in the end, we want to use the scanner to find what we are looking for, right? So how is this possible? Now, you can, as you've seen, mix and match various scan criteria. In fact, we have almost 40 different scan criteria integrated into our dashboard. But of course, before we start mix and matching, I think it makes sense to explain to you what these different scan criteria actually mean. And then later on, at the end, we're going to go through some use cases where, how you could mix and match them, just to give you some inspiration. Now, there's no limit to it, but just to give you some inspiration, I'm going to give you some use cases. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all these 38 scan criteria. And I apologize, this might be a bit tedious. I'm trying to make it as concise as possible, but I also want to be thorough so you completely understand what a criteria means. Okay, so we're going to start off super simple. So the first set of scan criteria are these ones here: the symbol, asset class, name, date, price, currency, exchange, and country. So I'm not going to read off the slide. You can take a screenshot of this, no problem. But I'm going to explain to you in the dashboard what these mean. So I'm going to go over to the dashboard again. And what I'm going to do is I will now only show these criteria up until country. So let me just take these away. I take everything away besides the ones that you've seen on the slide. Just bear with me for 1 second. You can see there's so many in here. There we go. They're all gone. Okay, now we only have these, 8 criteria, whatever it was, that we saw on this slide. So symbol, that's the ticker name. Obviously, that's, what is the exchange ticker for that particular symbol. Asset class is the type of asset we are dealing with. So this could be either stock or ETF. Or crypto. We've seen this before: future, forex, and index. As mentioned before, Just give me 1 second, guys. Somebody is trying to fix the filter problem. 1 second. Okay. Perfect. I'm back. Sorry for this. So we have all these different asset classes, but the vast majority, I'd say 95%, are in the stock and ETF space. But of course, for those of you who are trading cryptos, we also have cryptos. We have a bunch of futures here. Of course, swing trading futures, perhaps something that you might not be so interested in. But we have the common futures here, like the ES futures, gold, crude oil, and so forth. Okay, we also have FX pairs, the 33 FX crosses in our dashboard, and we have a couple of indices as well in the dashboard. So a nice mix of different asset classes. This is available in this column here. All right, next is the name of the underlying. Of course, that's very straightforward. What is the actual name? Like A for Agilent Technologies, Inc. Now, this brings us to the first kind of hidden feature that we have in the dashboard. You see next to the left of the name this little round info icon here, this one here. If you don't know what a particular stock or symbol or ticker does, you can click on this. This will open up a little dialog like this one here, where you can read up what is this company all about. Like Agilent Technologies provides application-focused solutions to the life sciences and diagnostics and so forth. I can read up on it to get a bit of understanding of what this stock actually does. That's something you can see right in there. Another thing that you can see sometimes is a little E icon here. What is this? Well, E in this case stands for earnings. This shows you, okay, this particular symbol, like AAOI, has earnings coming up. Okay, let's click on it. I click on this one here. I'm actually going to reset my chart. Give me 1 second. All right. You can see here, this symbol here has earnings coming up on February the 27th, tomorrow. Today's the 26th. All right. So this is something which you can see directly also in the scanner. Sometimes it's a convenience feature just to see right off the bat, hey, this symbol has earnings coming up soon. By default, it's within the next week. And let me just try to find one if I can. Sometimes you can see it here. A symbol may also have a little D here, not an E, a D sign here. This means that the diff-X date, the dividend X date for this particular symbol is coming up within the next week by default. And if you hover over it, I forgot to mention this, you can actually see what is the exact diff-X date for the symbol. So I'm going to hover over this. You can see here, February 27 is the diff-X date for this Barrick Mining Corporation. What you see here can be customized as well. If you go to the settings, the last item under scanner is called Info and Events. You click on it. In there, you can customize, okay, what do I want to see to the left of the name? Maybe this clutters the view to you. Maybe you don't want to see it. You can disable all these things. You can see it here. They're all gone. Okay. I like them on there, but you can disable it if you want. You can also customize what should be the period within which, let's say, earnings need to come up to show this icon, or diff-X dates need to come up to show this icon. You can customize this here within 1 week, within 2 weeks, or within 1 month. Now, this can be all customized in this dialog. This is a feature which we just recently added, like a couple of days ago, in fact. Once again, showing you how lively this dashboard is. All right, moving on, date. Okay, you may wonder, hey, why do we need a date column in here? Well, there's actually a reason for this. Sometimes, for whatever reason, one symbol didn't trade on a specific date. Remember, typically symbols trade at 5 days a week, but sometimes something is going on with that symbol. It didn't trade at all. You can see by this date column here, what was the last, I call this calculation date for all the other values in the scanner. Of course, by default, is the last completed trading day, in this case, February 25th. You can see all these symbols have Feb 25th listed here, but sometimes it's different. And this column will show you, okay, the last calculated date is a bit older, perhaps. Okay, moving on. Price. This is the close price. Let me actually go to, just sort these here real quick from This is the close price of the last completed trading day. So price, if you go here and open up this symbol on the chart, by the way, you can click, of course, onto the symbol to open it up on the chart. You can see the close price here, 124.72. That's the same one here. So the close price of the last completed trading day. In this case, February the 25th. Then we have currency. This is the trading currency for this symbol. USD, Euro, Australian dollars, and so forth. Very straightforward. You can also, of course, also filter for this, but just one little nuance here. You may see, okay, for GBP, we actually have two GBP Great Britain pounds. One with a capital P at the end and one with a small p at the end. What does this mean? Well, if it's a small p, like in most cases, it means this price is denominated in pennies, in British pound pennies. Okay, so in fact, 1,042 would be $10.42 in pounds because it's pennies here. Okay, if you see a capital P, let me see if I can find one here. This guy here, a Global X Copper Miners, for capital P at the end, this means it's in pounds. Okay, just a small thing to be considered. Exchange. Oh, let me just clear the filter here. Exchange is the stock exchange at which the symbol is trading. Most of them will trade on the New York Stock Exchange. We have some NASDAQ as well, some OTC stocks, and then some foreign exchanges here as well, like Toronto, the TSX, Norway, Paris, Saudi stocks, and so forth. I can see the stock exchange here listed as well. And finally, we have country. The country is the headquarter country of the stock. And you may say, why do we need this? We already have stock exchange. Well, there is actually a difference. Let me select, just for the fun of it, New York Stock Exchange, NYSE. You can see that sometimes, even if a stock is listed at the NYSE, at the New York Stock Exchange, its headquarter country might be not the United States. In this case, this one here, Ambev, is headquartered in Brazil. And if you go to the info box here of this stock, you can see this one is headquartered in Sao Paulo in Brazil, founded in 1853. All right, so this is possible as well. You can see this in this column here as well. All right, so this was the easiest one. Let me move on now to the next set of columns which you want to talk about. So 2 out of 5. You see we're making quick progress. Sector, industry, volume delta, price difference from the day before, year to date in percent, 52-week high and 52-week low. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to once again just only show these values onto the scanner. So I'm going to go to my configurator here, clear all these out, and select all this one: sector, volume delta, 1D, year to date, and so forth. So these ones here. Perfect. All right, let's talk. Oh, an asset class I'm going to also deselect. Perfect. All right. Sector. What is sector? Well, sector is in which S&P 500 sector does the symbol fall into. For example, here at Agilent, it falls into the healthcare sector. Alcoa is basic materials. American Airlines is industrials, and so forth. You can see the sector here, and you can filter by the sector as well. You can look here. Okay. Maybe I only want to see the healthcare stocks. Great. I can select this filter and I see only healthcare stocks here. Maybe I want to see healthcare and technology. Great, I can see it here as well. This is how this works. Okay, so this is the sector. And a couple of things here. This only applies to stocks. So only stocks are classified into sectors. If you're looking at an ETF, for example, let me just let me go to the SPY. It's an ETF. There's no sector there. You can see this is blank. Okay. Another thing for sector, it's a bit special. So let me just enable this feature right now so you can see what I mean by this. All right, so I'm going to go to the settings here. I'm going to go to the scanner and I will enable sector information, this one here. I click on it. And once done, you know, underneath the sector here, healthcare, I see all kinds of information here. This is useful. So what do I see here? Well, for this, we need to understand each of the 11 S&P 500 sectors is actually tracked by what we call a sector ETF. In this case, the healthcare sector is tracked by the sector ETF XLV. You can see this one here. You can even click on it, and it will open up the chart. Perfect. All right, Great. Now I can see the sector ETF, and this is useful to understand. Okay, maybe I'm interested in going long Agilent, but perhaps I should be a bit careful because the sector ETF currently is coming up. If you look here, it's currently coming up to a resistance level because it's a short bounce. When I explain these setups in a bit, it's a bounce up to the short side. Maybe I want to be careful because oftentimes, with the sector goes down, oftentimes the stocks in that sector will also go down. Okay, so you can see this directly in here. What I can also see is that the healthcare sector is XLV is currently an uptrend, this upwards facing arrow here for 81 trading days. And if you look at the sector ETF, XLV here, which I just opened, we can see there's a bull signal here. And if you count the candles from this label here all the way to the end of the chart, we're going to get to 81 if we count all these candles. This is what can be seen here when the sector information is enabled in the settings here on the scanner sector information. You can see here, this is what it does. All right, moving on. Industry group. This is basically the subclassification of the healthcare sector. So within healthcare, Agilent, for example, this one here, is in diagnostics and research. Alcoa, AA, is in basic materials and in aluminum. This is the subclassification. All right, so this is another thing you can, just to learn a little bit more of what this particular symbol does. All right, moving on. Volume. This is the average trading volume of that symbol. So it doesn't go for only the last trading day. It's the average trading volume of that symbol. So for example, Alcoa trades at 2.4 million shares a day. Sorry, I'm Agilent. Alcoa trades at 6.7 million shares a day. And you can use this volume information here to filter out some stocks which have very low volume. For example, this one here, AAC.AX is Australian stock. In farm products, only has 73,000 trades or trading volume on average, very low. And by the way, one quick thing you may notice, some symbol names, I forgot to mention this, they have this dot and then something else at the end, like A2A.MI, AAC.AX. This is an indication for you that this is a foreign stock. And of course, for us, foreign stock is a stock which is not listed in the US. And one quick trick, what you can do, if let's say you're interested in stocks which trade, let's say in Germany, we have many German users. What you can do is you can use this search box up here and type the following in: dot, using the same dot here, DE. Once I do this, I will see all the stocks which have .de at the end. All the German stocks, the 158 German stocks here, for example. Maybe I want to see all the Australian stocks which have .ax at the end. You can see .ax to get a bit of a shortcut to this. All right? So this is possible as well. All right, so this is the volume, and as mentioned before, sometimes I use a volume filter to filter out some stocks which are really not liquid. Okay? All right. Volume delta. This is an indication of how does the volume of the last completed trading day compare to the average volume in percent. So for example, here for Alcoa, Alcoa's volume in the last trading day is 31.9% above the average volume for whatever reason. You can interpret this the way you want, but one thing is obvious. Look at what happened here at the very last candle. Yeah, and I explained this before. The last candle wicked into a level here from the downside. This level is acting as resistance. And what do we have here? A liquidity capture event. These are candles, I'm going to repeat it one more time, which come up to a level, in this case, a resistance level. They cannot break it. And these candles have abnormally high volume. We get this liquidity capture event. This is evident also here by the fact that, hey, the volume of this candle is 31.9% above the average volume. Okay, so this is what this one means. 1 day percent. This is how much the last candle has grown or went down. In this case, the last candle here went up 5.68% for Alcoa. If you go to this last candle here, we can see this value here as well, 5.68%. So the last candle went up this much since the previous candle. Okay, 5.68. Moving on. Year to date. This is how much the stock has grown, the price has grown or shrunk since the beginning of the year, since January the 1st. So we are in 2026 right now. This is since January the 1st, 2026. If you measure this out for Alcoa here, it's up 19% this year. We can use the measuring tool here. Let's say I'm going to guesstimate this a little bit from January the 1st, something like this, to the current close price. Yeah, 21%, but I didn't get it completely right. So it's about this, but I didn't hit the spots completely. But this allows you to see, okay, what are some of the stocks which have grown the most or perhaps lost the most since the beginning of the year. All right. Okay. 52-week high, another interesting column, and we have 52-week low as well. All right. So let's start 52-week high first. And for this, let me just pick. I'm going to go over just to our NASDAQ or the S&P 500 symbols, just to have a smaller subset. Maybe I want to see, hey, which of the S&P 500 stocks are currently trading very close to its high point in the last 52 weeks. All right. So for this to understand, and it might be a bit counterintuitive, but we've looked up several trade scanners, and this seems to be the industry standard. So all these values here are listed as negative percentages. And why is that? Because this column shows you how far off are we right now at the close price from the 52-week high point. And for example, here, if I go to the stock here, ADI, whatever that's actually, let me put the name on it here as well. So ADI is analog devices. We can see here in this column here, we are only 0.66% off the high. So what I would expect when I open up this, the chart is not open yet, but when I open up the symbol on the chart, is that we are very close to a high point right now on this symbol. Let's check it out. So I'm going to open it up. You can see here, yeah, very close to its high point. I guess the high point was right here at 363.33 currently, and then we close at 360.72. That's about 0.66% off the high point. This is how you can read it. So a value very close to zero means they're very close to the high point. A value which is much further off. Let me find ACN, for example. Yeah, Accenture. Very far off the high point of the 52 weeks. 28% off. So if we look down here, okay, where might be the high point of the last 52 weeks? So let's say March, let me just go back here, March 2024, or February 2025, like somewhere here. If you measure this out as distance from, I guess, around here maybe, to the close price here, you can see we have 45% off. Maybe I didn't measure it correctly, but this is how you can read this. Oh yeah, 45% off. This is the value here. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is how this one works. How far are we off the high mark? And then we have this column here, 52-week low, also in percent. This value is always positive because this measures how much have we grown since the low point in the last 25 or 52 weeks. Oh boy, it's been a long boot camp, 52 weeks. And we can, for example, say here ADI, analog devices, has grown since the low point of the last 52 weeks, sorry, 127%. Okay, so where was the low point? Let's see, it was probably this guy here, the swing low. If we measure this low point here to all the way up here, what do we get? 126%. That's pretty much what we have here as well. So this is what this value shows you. The bigger this value, the more the stock has advanced, has grown since its low point in the last 52 weeks. This is always a value above zero. What you can also do is you can filter, of course, by these values. So for example, here for the S&P 500, maybe I want to see all the stocks which are very close to its 52-week high. Put this filter on here, greater than minus 5%. So get all the ones which are very close to it. Like this one here, for example, American Electric Power, very close to this high point. Or perhaps the Allstate Corporation, which is 3.42% off its high point, and so forth. Or maybe the stock which has grown the most since its low point. Let's find this one. I'm going to go to a filter here from the lows. Maybe all the stocks which have grown at least 100% since the low point. We have 67 stocks. And the biggest one, of course, you can sort them as well, is this one here, SanDisk. Crazy. 2,167% off. Unbelievable. Followed by Western Digital. and so forth. This is how these columns can be used. Ideal to find some stocks of great momentum right now. All right. Okay. So these are these columns. And of course, if you guys have any questions, please put your questions into the Q&A box. I'm going to get to all these at the end of this presentation. All right. So moving on. Next list. Okay, we're making good progress here. 3 out of 5. Beta, short interest, gap percent, gap fill, earnings date, diff date, dividend yield, forward dividend, and payout ratio. All right. So back to the dashboard. I'm going to enable these columns right now. So I'm going to go here and we'll now go back to my column configurator. I will deselect all these ones here and select the new ones. Beta, short interest, gap, gap fill, earnings date, diff date, dividend yield, and forward dividend and payout ratio. Perfect. Okay. Beta. This is an indication of how volatile or how more volatile or less volatile this stock is compared to the index that tracks the stock. If we see a value very close to 1, like this one here, Amphenol Corporation, it means the volatility of this stock is pretty much the same as the index that tracks the stock. In this case, the S&P 500 index. If we have a value much bigger than 1, around 2, for example, like AMD, you can see how much volatility there's already. It means the volatility of that stock is about twice as big as the of the S&P 500, of the index. Or a stock like Newman Corporation with 0.44, means that this stock is super little volatile, it's like very smooth, very easy going up here in this case, much less volatile than the index that tracks the stock. That's what beta finds here. Short interest. This is, I'm going to go back to my slides here. This is the percentage of tradable shares from the shares of the float which are currently held short, and only applies to stocks. So beta and short interest, these two values here only apply to stocks. Okay, so basically, if you see a value let's say of 10.52%, as here for Western Digital, it means that 10.52% of the float of the tradable shares are currently held short, are traded short. And interestingly, it is possible that you have values, maybe not in the S&P 500, but for some other symbols, it is possible to have some values which are actually greater than 100%. It doesn't happen very often. Why is this? Because it is possible to short a stock more than once. The same kind of stock. So it doesn't need to stop with the amount of shortable stocks. You can do it more than once. This is why this value can be more than 100. All right. So you can read up on what short interest, how this can be used for trading. We don't use it too much in our trading approach, but perhaps you do, and you can use this value in your approach. All right. So the next one is gap percent and gap fill. So this is something that we want to improve on in the future. So this is we had this gap percentage and gap fill indication here for a long time. I think there will be some improvements coming up, but let me show you what that means. I'm going to go back one more time to the S&P 500 stocks. Let me just find you some stocks that gapped. Okay, more than 2%. Let's pick this one here. Albemarle Corporation. What do we see here? I'm going to zoom into this chart. All right. What do we see? I'm going to make this a bit bigger. We see, let me draw this in here. We see a gap from the previous candle to the last candle. You can see it here, the gap like this. Perfect. This stock gapped up 8.12%, measured from the close price of the previous candle, like this one here, to the open price, which is up here, of the current candle. That's the gap. It's 8.12%. This is what this value means. Okay. This one down here, GoDaddy, gap down 16.7%. Let's check this one out. I'm going to open up GoDaddy. You can see it here. Yeah, this one gap down from up here all the way to down here. That's a gap of 16.7%. This is what this column shows you. And the reason why we added this criteria is that oftentimes gaps get filled. But of course, gap fills may happen not just at the next candle, but they may happen over time. This is one of the reasons why we want to revise this logic a little bit. And this is something that's coming up in the future version of the dashboard. But for now, this is how this gap column works. It shows you whether there was a gap between the previous candle and the current candle. Gap fill here shows you how much of this gap has already been filled. Let's once again look at GoDaddy. So we gap down 16.7%, but 24% of that gap has already been filled. How can we see this? Well, the gap fill is this attempt here. It's from here, from the open price to this price. That's 24% of the overall gap. You can see this is about 1/4. That makes sense. Has been already filled, not more. So there's still some gap to be filled. Perhaps, some of you may use this information to anticipate, okay, over time, this gap is going to get filled, and perhaps I can find a trade around this. All right. This is what this column shows you here, how much of this gap has been filled at the current candle. But it doesn't track it over time. It stops at the current candle. Okay. That's a limitation of these columns, and one of the reasons why we want to revise this logic a bit in the future. All right, so this is gap. Let's move on. Earnings date. That's very self-explanatory. It shows you when are earnings coming up. So I'm going to go back one more time to GoDaddy because we already have it on the chart. GoDaddy had earnings on the 24th. This is why I guess we had, well, maybe not. We had the earnings on the 24th here. Maybe the reason for the gap, maybe not, I don't know, but you can see it here. This were the last earnings. If it's grayed out, like here for GoDaddy, this is grayed out here, means the earnings are in the past. If it's not grayed out, like completely white here, it means these are upcoming earnings. Okay. And the cool thing is you can also filter for this. For example, you can say, okay, I want to see all the symbols which have earnings are coming up in the next 2 weeks. I can use a filter for this. Oh, perfect. Perhaps you want to study, I want to see all the symbols which had earnings, maybe up to 3 days ago. You can see all the settings here, all the symbols coming in with this setting 3 days ago. They're all grayed out, of course. Okay, so this is how you can find these symbols. DivX date, that's the date before you need to own the stock if you want to receive the next dividend. Particularly important if you're looking for a stock, if you're a dividend investor and you want to get into this stock before the dividends are being paid out. For example, let me just find a nice example here. For example, here, this stock here, it's too late now, but this stock pays a really nice dividend yield, but the DivX date has already passed. It was January the 8th. That was a while back here. You can see the little dividend icon here. This is when the DivX date was. So if you buy the stock now, you will not receive this dividend anymore. It's too late for this. But what you can do is you can find stocks where the DivX date is coming up, maybe the next 2 weeks. You want to get into it. You can see all these stocks here. These are the symbols with upcoming DivX dates. And then you could combine this with the next column, which is dividend yield, which basically shows you, okay, how much dividend has the stock paid out annualized compared or in ratio to the underlying stock price. So for example, here, if I want to sort this, maybe here, the stock of the biggest dividend yield, which has dividends coming up on March 2nd, is this one here, LYB. Lionel Basel Industries. All right, let's check it out here. This one has dividends coming up soonish. And, perhaps not the worst idea to get into this one if you want to collect the dividend. But that's annualized. If I go here and check out the history of the dividends, you can see, okay, they're paid out every quarter. Nice. And it's been even increasing over time. That's interesting. Okay, you can see also here the forward dividend. This is not compared to the stock price is 4.8. So let me just see how much was paid out before. Yeah, pretty much the same. So the expectation is that dividends are going to continue to be paid out for the stock at a similar rate. This is what this forward dividend column shows you. Of course, that's an estimation of experts. There's no guarantee, but at least an indication for you. Maybe as a dividend investor, maybe I want to get into this particular symbol to collect a dividend when it's being paid out on March, when the DivX date is on March 2nd. So you need to own the stock before this date. Okay. And then you can see also payout ratio here, which is really huge indication here. This basically is how much of the earnings of the stock are being paid out as dividends. course, the value here of more than 1,000%. It's crazy. It means this company didn't really earn much last year, but paid out a huge dividend. And sometimes that's a warning sign. Hey, we are now burning through our savings, what we have in the bank account to be able to pay out the dividends. We didn't actually earn as much in the last year, but we're paying above what we earned the last year. It's maybe a bit of a warning sign if you see a payout ratio this high that perhaps this is not sustainable in terms of dividend to be paid out, and maybe not the best idea to get into this right now because there's no guarantee I'm going to be collecting a dividend on the DivX data of the same magnitude as before or at all. Okay, so this is what these values do. All right, so this was 3 out of 5. Now 4 out of 5. Market cap, optionable, heat index, expiration frequency, liquidity capture, liquidity setup, long reward risk ratio, and short reward risk ratio. All right, how does this work? All right, so I'm going to go back to our scanner here and explain these columns now as well. So I'm going to configure my columns. I'm going to deselect all these. All right. And I will select the next ones. Perfect. Done. Okay, market capitalization. This is what is the market cap in the exchange currency of that stock. That's important to note. Why is that? Because if let's say I want to see all the stocks with a market cap of at least 100 billion. Okay, so I get all kinds of stocks here, but let me just see something real quick. One quick second. What did I want to see here? I'm gonna make it a little less, a little bit more liberal here. No, this is fine. Yeah, I can see a market cap right here. In the exchange currency, and you can see all these big US stocks being listed here. And the one with the biggest market cap is, no big surprise there, Nvidia, followed by Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, and so forth. Now, these are the companies with the biggest market cap. You can now filter and sort by these companies using this market cap column here. All right, option. See, I confused myself. So I actually wanted to make a point for market cap with the currency. Let me go to all symbols here. Now you're going to see something. All right. So once again, I'm going to go with more than 500 billion. And the symbols with the biggest market cap, is not Nvidia, for example. And you can see all these Indian stocks here, for example. Why is this? And this brings me back to the point I wanted to make. I was just a bit confused. It is in the exchange currency. So the exchange currency of Reliance, for example, here is what? Well, let's check it out. What's the exchange currency? Is Indian rupee. So this is the market cap in Indian rupee. So you need to be careful with this, not to confuse it. This stock probably has less market cap than Nvidia, but since it's listed in the exchange currency, it looks like it's huge, but it's probably not as big. Of course, it's big, but maybe not as big. What we want to do in the future, future feature is to convert all of these market caps to US dollar. So you get this in a relation. This is something we have in mind. All right, moving on. What else do we have? Optional. That's very straightforward. This value basically shows you whether a stock is currently can be traded with options. There's an options chain available, and we added another criteria to it, whether this stock has a reasonably liquid options chain as well. And if it does, you get this check mark here in the underlying. You can also filter for this, and if not, the no check mark is available. And one remark here, this is only available for US stocks at the moment, because we can only read this information out at the moment from our data provider for US stocks. This is why, for example, all these Indian stocks here, they don't have this check mark, even though they are probably optionable in theory, but only for US stocks we can show this value right now. All right, moving on, heat index. This is something we have added about a month ago to the dashboard along with expiration frequency. Okay, we do have many, let's go back here. We do have many options traders among us. I myself trade options a lot. I like to buy options, but I even like to sell options even more. And for this, whether I want to buy options or sell options, I need to know how expensive, relatively speaking, are options right now for a particular symbol. If options are very cheap, for example, of a value of, for example, 2.27 for Apple. This is very low. Options are cheap. Maybe I want to consider buying options for this underlying, for this stock, for this thing instead of using an option selling strategy because it's very low. If options are very expensive, for example, a value of 13 or everything above 10 basically is very expensive, or 11 in this case, maybe I want to consider an option selling strategy. All right, so this is what this heat index tells you. But let's zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to go back to the definition on the slide here. Here I wrote this up here. The heat index is the estimated at the money option price with 30 days to expiration, expressed as a percentage of the underlying stock price. Okay, let's think this through. A couple of things here. First off, this value here is a calculated value. It's not something what you're actually going to find with your broker. It's a synthetic value which we calculate and normalize for you. So these things become comparable. That's something we did. All right. What do we do? So we are looking at the options chain. Same for Apple here. The options chain. So the option, Apple is trading right now. If you look at the stock price here of Apple, it's trading right now at 274. You can see the value here. That's 274. So what we do is we are looking into the options chain of Apple. And we're trying to find the strike price nearest, the strike prices, I should say, nearest to the actual close price of 274.23. So you'll find 274 as a strike price for Apple and 275. Then we extrapolate, okay, what would be the options price for exactly 274.23 at the money, exactly at the money? That's number one. Then we also do another thing. We look at, maybe not, let's not use Apple. This is a bad example. I mean, Apple is great, but let's use advanced auto parts instead. So we calculate what would be the exact price of the option at the money of 50.44 for this case here for advanced auto parts. But then we go one step further. We also look at the expiration date for exactly 30 days out. Not 29 days out, not 35 days out, exactly 30 days out. And of course, you may not find an expiration date exactly 30 days out because options don't expire every day for most symbols. For some they do, they're daily, but for most they don't. They expire weekly or maybe even monthly. What we do is we synthetically calculate what if there was an expiration date exactly 30 days out. We interpolate and we estimate what would be the options price. So what you see in here is not the options price, but if you hover over this value, you see actually the price indicator there, 5.69. This is how much you would pay for a call or put option for exactly at the money 30 days out. 5.69. And then we do one more thing. We divide this value by the price of the underlying. And this will give us a percentage. And this is what is being displayed here. So basically for advanced auto parts, you would need to pay for a call or put options 11% of the price of the underlying. That's expensive. So to me, this is too expensive to buy an option. I would never do it. I would sell an option instead. If I like the setup. You can sell puts or perhaps do credit spreads and so forth. This is what this heat index shows you. Okay? I hope this made sense. Expiration frequency, also related to options. This shows you how often do the options expire. For most symbols, it's either monthly or weekly, but some symbols you can see there for Apple, for example, that's why I said it was a bad example for calculating exactly 30 days out. They actually expire daily. That's one of these few symbols which have daily expirations. There's a couple of them. Most of them will have weekly expirations. You can see it here, and some of them are monthly expirations. And it's important to know because typically the one with only monthly expirations, they're not as liquid. We may see a big bid-ask spread. They're not as liquid to trade and so forth. I personally prefer to trade options only with daily and weekly expirations. So much more liquid. Currently, we have 570 stocks with daily or weekly expirations. All right. So this is the expiration frequency. And we have two more values. We have liquidity capture. Oh, actually, four more values. Liquidity IQ setup, long reward risk ratio and short reward risk ratio. What are these? Okay, I'm going to go back to JP Morgan real quick. What did we see here? All right. So JP Morgan, the stock I opened with at the very beginning, if you may remember, what do we see here at this candle, this big red candle here, which came close to our support level? We see this word liquidity capture written out. Again, this is a candle which wicks down into a support level. It cannot break it and has abnormally high volume. What this column here shows us is that we've seen such a liquidity capture 3 bars ago at support. We know it's at support because it's red. It's also possible to have this at resistance, but then it would not be red, it would be greenish. So this is what this value shows you. Let me give you some examples. I'm going to go to our list here, and let's look at, for example, Alcoa. Liquidity capture at the recent candle, the last candle, at resistance. Let's check it out. What do we see here? A liquidity capture event at resistance at the last candle. And once again, these are indications that, hey, potentially a bounce off this level is more likely than a break. Okay? In this case, a bounce to the downside here in Alcoa. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. You can filter for all these values here as well. Liquidity IQ setup. Okay. So this is related to our liquidity IQ indicator. Let me just only put this one onto the chart and hide all the other ones. This is calculated based on where price is right now in relation to levels on the chart. So here for Alcoa, what do we see? Price is very close to this resistance level. And resistance acting as resistance, it may happen or may cause price to bounce to the downside, to the short side of this level. And this is exactly what's written out here. Short bounce and the number 2. What does number 2 mean here? It means since for how many bars, for how many candles are we in this short bounce setup? So in this case, it means since this candle here, since this green candle, one second, this green candle here, we are in the vicinity, in the proximity of this level, and therefore the indicator shows us a short bounce setup. Okay. Another example, long bounce, 1, this one here. It shows us, okay, since the last candle where we closed here, we are in the vicinity of this support level. That's possible as well. Okay. These are the bounce setups. Then we also have break setups. For example, this one here, long break 4, AAOI. It means we broke above resistance to the long side 4 candles ago. If you count these candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can see the zone break arrow right here, 4 candles ago. Okay. And you can filter for these setups. So if I want to sort, hey, which are all the breakout stocks, I can select long break here in my filter and get all these long break stocks here. For example, here I can see this stock here, ADI, Analog Devices. We broke above resistance 59 trading days ago. Since then, we've been moving upwards. All right. So this is long break. And of course, we also have this to the short side. Short break. Let me find one here. See one of these, very bearish stock. Adobe. Unfortunately, some people said it's a value investing stock. I don't buy it. I think their business model might be taken over to some degree by AI. You can see here, it broke below support 12 bars ago. If I count this back, it's 12 bars ago to this arrow here. This is what this short break shows me. Then we have 2 more. We have long break retrace. Remember in the beginning when I said, when a level is broken, price oftentimes comes back to that level to retest it. Let's check it out. So what do we have here? Let me find, what is this one here? Not the best example. Let me just find a good example. This one here. Anderson's. I think it's a supermarket. We broke above resistance. We initially went up. Then we came back down to the broken resistance level. Zone break, retrace. And this level now acting as support. Remember when I said it really matters from where price approaches the level? If we're coming from above, it's support. We're coming from below, it's resistance. In this case, we're coming from above. This level may act as support and prices may bounce off this level to the upside. This is zone break retrace. Now, of course, we have this also for the short case. And we have one more. We have magnet zone. This one here. Magnet zone really basically only means we are, smack down the middle in between support and resistance. Here's Apple. What do we see? Prices are right here. Support is down here. Resistance is up here. We are pretty much in the middle of these two zones. We're on the magnet zone. We call this magnet zone because oftentimes price is magnetically drawn to either resistance or support. Price will not stay in this price area for much longer. So it's going to be magnetically drawn to either resistance on top or support down here. This is where the name comes from. All right. Perfect. And of course, you can also filter for all these ones. And in this case, it makes sense to apply multiple filters. For example, what you can do, I want to see all the stocks which are currently in a long bounce scenario since the last candle. They just got into this long bounce. Just find one here. Maybe Aeon. Yeah, we just got into this. Here we're approaching from below. Not the best example. Maybe let me find another one. ARTL. Yeah, here we just got, since the last candle, since we were up here, down into this level. For one candle, we're on this long bounce scenario. And if you combine this with liquidity captures at support, at the last candle, I can already filter down quite nicely. And for example, let's see if I can detect an interesting stock here. I'm just guessing. I was picking this one here, DEO. You can see here, yeah, we in fact just dropped down, gap down off this resistance here down to support. So it's something magical how these levels hold up down to support with a liquidity capture at the last candle. All right. So this is how you can use this value. Okay. Now I want to explain one more thing. Let's say we like this. Actually, let me go to JP Morgan. Do we have a setup there? No. Which ones did we have a nice setup at? Let me go to the S&P 500s just to find some symbols which you can recognize a bit easier. Agilent. Let's pick Agilent. Let's say Agilent, is currently in a long bounce scenario. It's been since 5 trading days in such a long bounce state. Maybe we want to trade this one. Where should I put my stop? Where should I put my target? Now, well, logically speaking, you would put your stop loss probably below the support level. Because if you lose these levels, this bounce trade is invalidated. We don't want to trade it anymore. I'll put it somewhere around here. And where should be my target? Well, probably below this resistance level here. Why there? Because we may bounce off this level again to the downside. We don't want to give away our profits again. All right, that sounds logical. What we can do in these settings of the indicator, of our liquidity IQ indicator, we can actually visualize these targets because the indicator will calculate these for us. These are the settings. I can scroll all the way down to show target long and show stop long. I click OK. And once done, we can actually see these levels displayed on the chart. Stop loss is below support here at 117.32, which is currently 5.93% off the current price. And our target at 146.64, which is 17.57% off current price. Great. All right. And then we could calculate the reward to risk ratio by dividing what we can gain by what we can lose. And this column here, long reward risk for long trades or short reward risk for short trades, shows us exactly this reward risk ratio. In this case, 2.96, which we get by dividing 17.57%, which we can gain, by 5.93. This will give us this value. Okay. This is how this column works. And what we could then do is we could sort by this. Maybe I want to see all the trades, which are, let's say, bounce trades, with a reward of risk to risk ratio of at least greater than 2. Yeah, and we can see all these stocks listed here. Can really hone into those big potential gains that you can get. For example, this one here, FICO. Let me just check it out. 5-point-something%. Yeah, if you come all the way from here, or 7 times, yeah, all the way to up here, this is what we could gain potentially. And the same thing for the short side. This is how the long RR and the short RR works. All right. Perfect. These are these columns, and I have one more page, and then we're almost at the end, guys. Congratulations if you're still staying on. I know this has been a crazy long boot camp. Maybe next time I'm going to do it over 2 days. But the last section here is MA rush, R score, pullback, trend aligned, and volatility. What are these all about? So I'm going to go back one more time to our scanner, and I will enable these columns right now. There we go. All right. So I'm going to disable the ones that we just had. And I'm going to do Mirage, R-score, pullback, trends aligned, and volatility. Perfect. So Mirage, this column here is based on our Mirage indicator, the one I've showed at the very beginning, which is basically our trend indicator, which gives us these bullish and bearish labels on the chart. We can see here in the scanner directly whether this stock is currently bullish or bearish. Let's pick Apple. Apple has a green arrow to the upside, which means it's currently bullish. And if you look at Apple here on the chart, what do we see? We do see a bull label right here on August 18, 2025. We are on a bullish trend. You can see Apple has nicely followed through after this indication here. And if you were to count from the last candle on the chart all the way back to this label, we would get to this value here, to 131. This is an indication of trend duration. All right, that's pretty interesting. So you can see it directly in here. And the way I use this scanner here is I always filter by it. For example, I want to see all the stocks which are currently bullish. I can use the bullish filter here. You can see of our 503 S&P 500 stocks, we have the watch list on here, currently 348 stocks are bullish. Now I want to see, okay, which of these stocks has been in the bullish trend for the longest. I can simply sort from highest to lowest. And the one that's been in the bullish trend for the longest is the AutoZone for 1,711 trading days. Doesn't look like it. It's very bullish. But if you zoom out, if I go to the full screen mode, we can see indeed AutoZone has been a long-term bullish trend. Look at this one here. Since here, bullish trend all the way up until here. Yeah, followed by Costco, Sensora, McKesson, and so forth. All right. What you can also do, sometimes I just want to filter out all the symbols which just recently went bullish because the trend is not established enough. A stock like this, like Diamondback Energy, it just went bullish 2 bars ago. Sorry, here. Like 2 bars ago, very recently. That's not a well-established bullish trend. I don't even want to see these. I only want to see the stocks which have been bullish for at least, let's say, 100 bars or 500 bars. You can use these these filters here. Bullish signal greater than 500, for example, like Tapestry. Yeah. Wow, what a nice stock. Look at this. Would I buy it right now? Probably not, because it's very extended. We're pretty far away. But this is a nicely bullish stock. Now, the question is, would I buy a stock right now? We're going to answer this a bit later, and especially in our scanning session as well. But one column which could help you with this is this one here, pullback. Remember our trend radar indicator down here? It's this one here. It allows you to find symbols which have these little red patches right now going on. Unlike Tapestry, you can see it here. It's all green. There's no pullback here. It's all bullish. But some stocks, they do have pullbacks right now. So let's try to find them. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just select here and trend rate in this column here, level 4, let's say. You can see all the stocks which currently have a pullback of level 4. Just find a nice one here. For example, CRH PLC. You can see it here, okay. We are on an uptrend, but we pulled back quite a bit. Now we can see a trend radar down here, 1, 2, 3, 4 levels down. This is what this one shows you. And what I like to do, for me, the sweet spot is always level 3 or level 4, because that's like right in the middle. It's not too shallow, like a level 1 pullback. It's like very little, but also not too big where a trend reversal might come into play. It's just like in the middle, the sweet spot. So this is what I typically like to consider, level 3 or level 4 pullback. R-score. So this is based on this trend radar indicator. In fact, these other two values here, R-score and trends aligned, are also based on this trend radar indicator. So what is R-score? R-score basically is a short-term read as to how bullish or bearish a stock is right now in the short term. Let me give you an extreme. Let me take the pullback filter out, and let's go for a big R-score, maybe greater than 400%. Do we have this? Ball Corporation, really bullish stock. You can see this stock has been flying up probably as of late, because it's a very high number. So I click on it. See, yeah, it's been flying up a lot, very bullish, coming up a lot. So recently, very, very bullish. If you look for an R score of around minus 400, you see very bearish stocks. Let me find one here. HP, oh boy, all the software companies, very bearish. You can see it here, going down a lot. So in the short term, this is what this R score gives you. And then R score of about 0, like something in the middle. Let me just take off the filter. Let's see if I can find something like this one here, NBR, but 4.66, kind of sideways. Recently, rule of thumb within the last 50 bars, give or take. A kind of sideways action here. Okay. And trends aligned, another interesting thing. Let me find a good stock for you guys here. Let me see one of the more bullish stocks that we can find. All right. So let's say this one here. Just for the, actually no, this one here, Quanta Services. That's much better. All right. What do we see? It's an extremely bullish stock. You can see it's going up nicely. Actually, we had this stock many times in our trade ideas. It's going up nicely. And what you also see here is a series of dots at the bottom of trend radar. See these dots here? These series of dots? This is what this value shows you. How many dots since the last candle in a row do we have? So if you were to count these dots up until this point here where the dots stop, it's 27. Trend aligned means that the moving averages that trend radar uses to establish trend direction in the short term, medium term in the middle, or long term, these moving averages are all stacked. They are ordered from fastest to lowest. The fastest is about the second fastest, which is above the medium fast, which is above the slowest moving averages. If these are ordered, we're getting a dot. So for this, in this case, for the last 27 days, our MAs were all stacked in that way. Oftentimes an indication that things are expensive, that we are extended right now, especially if this goes on for a long time. This is what this column shows you. And finally, volatility, an indication, what is the historical volatility of the stock? How volatile has it been lately? And we can get values from low to extreme. Let me find something extreme. Of course, we're here in the S&P 500. But for example, here, EPAM system, very volatile. Look at this, up, down, up, down. So it's very volatile. An indication to you, perhaps maybe you don't want to trade this stock. Is quite unpredictable. It's been quite erratic as of late. If you contrast it to a stock like this, Prudential Financial, it's much more slow-paced in some sense, or very silent. Yeah. All right. So this is what this column will give you. All right. Let me see if there are some questions regarding these indications. All right. Let me see. So what is coming in? Do you think that the short liquidity IQ setups could inform the buying, selling of puts? So selling of puts actually is a bullish play. So don't confuse it with that. Buying puts would be a bearish play. But of course, if you want to buy options, whether it's calls or puts, you always need to consider how expensive the options are right now. Yeah, because if they're already very expensive, buying puts, even if you have a negative read on the stock, might not be the best idea because options are already expensive. And of course, if you buy options, you want to ideally buy low and sell high. That's the idea. So yeah, Masa, that's always take it with a grain of salt in that sense. Masa, we are writing a booklet about this currently. So right now we don't have it written up, but this is something we are working on. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So now to wrap up this extremely long boot camp, I apologize again. Next time I'm going to do it in 2 parts. Let me talk through some setups that you could be looking for using the dashboard. All right. So now, what could be some of these setups we could be looking for? And this is just to give you some inspiration. Okay, some use cases. Use case number 1 is the following. I am a trend trader and I want to find entry opportunities for strong bullish stocks. All right. So how can we find this? Let's check it out. So I'm going to go to our dashboard, and let's say I'm a bullish trend trader. I want to get long to stock, which has been trending for quite some time. What I want to do first, I want to find stocks which are actually already in a bullish trend. That's something I want to do. So I'm going to use my MA Rush indicator here. In fact, let me just go to all symbols to have a bit of a bigger universe. I'm going to look for bullish stocks for at least, which have been bullish for at least 500 trading days. All right. So we're already down to 5,811. Down to 809 symbols out of our 5,811. All right. But that's not all. Of course, we want to find stocks which currently have pulled back a little bit. Yeah, unlike Casey's, which is completely extended, it's a great run up, but I don't want to get in here. That's too expensive for me. I want to wait for some sort of pullback. So let's find stocks which actually pulled back as per our trend radar indicator, maybe level 3 or level 4. Now we're down to 79 stocks. And now what we can do, I'm going to enable this column here. Maybe let's find a stock which currently is trading close to a support level or is approaching a former resistance level from the upside. These would be our long bounce setup as per Liquidity IQ or long break retrace setups. You can see now we are down to only 8 stocks. All right. And I'm going to ignore the currency here, but what then you can do, you can sort by trend duration. The first one that comes up, besides the EuroCAD here, is CRH PLC. Let's check it out. Yeah, nice long-term uptrend, approaching now a support level at the very last bar. Potentially a long entry here to the upside. And if we were to play this, we could see, okay, we could put our stop at 114.90 and our target at 127.84, giving us a reward to risk ratio, if you want to look here, of, 1 second, where are we here for our reward to risk ratio of 1.46. All right, perfect. Yeah, this is one scan you could run for looking for long entries. And of course, if you join our power scanning sessions on the weekend, we'll do this more detailed in that case. Next setup you can do. I am an options trader and want to find an affordable outright call option setup. Okay, interesting. What is an affordable outright call option? Well, for this, first of all, I'm going to clear out our filters here. For this, we need to enable first our option related stuff. So optionable, heat index, and let's say expiration frequency as well. All right. So first of all, we want to focus on things which are actually optionable. So I'm going to select the optional filter here. I'll be down to 1,352 symbols. Next, I also want to find a liquid options chain. So I'm going to ignore the monthlies. Let's just focus on the daily and weekly expirations. So down to 570. And of course, in my book, affordable option is something I'd say at the minimum below 5% of a heat index. So I'm going to say less than 5%. Now we're down to 239. And here, of course, here the lower the better. But this is pretty decent. And of course, now we don't want to blindly buy options like, this Netflix option here. Well, maybe it's worth a shot, even though I don't like this technical setup as we just went bearish here. But Netflix only has a heat index of 2.44. It's quite low. Not too bad. But let's see if we can combine this also with a stock which is currently in an uptrend. Let me just go here to MA Rush and select maybe bullish stocks. Okay, we do have some. And maybe some stocks which currently have some sort of bounce setup or zone break retrace. Okay, we have these ones here. And one thing that comes in here, for example, is IBM. Well, what about IBM? Okay, interesting. So IBM is currently at the support level. We came down quite a bit. Options are not very expensive for IBM. Not too about what was the heat index at around 3.16. That's pretty decent, especially since we had such a big drop here, but it's been stabilizing. And you potentially could maybe buy some call options here at the money, just coinciding with the support level here, anticipating, okay, it's a risk limited play. All I can lose is the options premium. And I'm anticipating that this uptrend is going to continue. And we're going to perhaps move up towards this resistance level here. And this call option will gain on value because right now it's actually relatively cheap. And this could be an interesting one. You can see there's some other opportunities here as well with options pricing relatively reasonable. All right. So one more example. I am a swing trader looking for a promising entry with great risk-reward ratio. All right. Rate reverse ratio. Where did we find this? Oops, sorry, back to my slide here. All right, so back to the dashboard. Where did we find reward to risk ratio? It was right here. Long or let's only consider the long case for now. So once again, I want to see bullish stocks. That's a precondition. I also want to see stocks which are currently either in a long bounce setup, let's say. That's the only setup we are going to consider. So long bounce. Okay, we're down to 147 stocks, and then we can use the long reward risk ratio here. Let's say more than 2.5 at the minimum. Okay, and the first stock that comes, if I actually sort this real quick, the first one that comes up here, but of course you have to take this with a grain of salt sometimes, is Paramount Skydance Corporation. Oh boy. Okay, let's have a look. It is technically bullish since it's trading day here, but of course this was a huge move up. But if we were, I would not recommend trading this one, if we were to recover or bounce from this support level here all the way up here, this resistance level here, we would get a reward to risk ratio of 16.71. Maybe a bit too extreme. Okay, let me just quickly see here. Maybe we want to see stocks which have been in an uptrend for a bit longer, maybe 100, maybe at least 500 trading days. In this case, we will get ACR, Acres Commercial Realty. Okay, maybe more reasonable. Look at this. Nice support here. If we are bouncing off the support all the way to here, we would get a nice reward to risk ratio of 8 times more reward than our risk. If our stop is right here at 18.10 and our target at 23.30. All right. So this is how we could accommodate this trading use case. And one more, I am an investor and want to buy stocks that pay regular and increasing dividends. Okay, a dividend investing style. Let's check this one out. Okay, so back to the dashboard one more time. And of course, now we talked about dividends. So let's enable our dividends related scans. So I'm going to go back to my column configurator. I'm going to enable div state, dividend yield. All right. And first of all, I want to find stocks with a great dividend yield. Let's do this in the S&P 500, just to keep it a bit simple. All right. So let's say at least 5% dividend yield. All right, we have 19 stocks right now with such a good dividend yield. That's pretty good. Let me sort them from highest to lowest. Which one comes up? ARED, Alexandria Real Estate Equities. Okay, let me just quickly see. Paid out quarterly. You can look at the history here by hovering over this info box. You can see the payout history of the dividend. But in this case, look at the last value there all the way on top from December 31st, 2025. The dividend actually went down. That's maybe not the best idea because here they already decreased the dividend. Maybe I don't trust it as much. What about a stock like Pfizer? That's all the way down here. It's one of the best, some of the best known dividend stocks. I love Pfizer for this. So Pfizer pays out 6.45% dividend. And Pfizer is one of those stocks which have been kept the dividend steady or increased it quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. This is a quality dividend stock, for example. If you could combine this, it's not the case right now, with a key technical setup, you could double down. You could collect dividends and potentially the stock price would also go up. This is where these columns come in, dividend investing together with a key technical setup. Here in this case for Pfizer, we're coming up to resistance. Maybe we're going to wait a bit for price to come down a little bit more, maybe even get an even better dividend yield compared to my cost basis for the stock. All right, let's check out, what about this one here? The Progressive Corporation. Look at this one. We're bearish, unfortunately, but we're coming off support here. Paying 6.81% dividend. Oh, but this one's also a warning sign. Look at the history there. Completely erratic. Forget about this. This is not a good candidate. But at least now you can see what to expect by consulting the dividend yield, the dividend history, and potentially also the technical setup that the stock is in. Just to one more Verizon here. Yeah, 1 second. Verizon now, what is this? The long break retrace setup. Oh, long break. Yeah, we just broke above this resistance level here. I am. Okay. Maybe CBP one more time here. Let me just find something here. Yeah, bearish, unfortunately, coming down to this support level. Oftentimes, the stocks of the biggest dividend yields, they are somewhat bearish because the stock price uh, tanked quite a bit, and this makes the dividend yield so attractive. But Campbell Soups, yeah, maybe. You'll see at the dividend history, yeah, quite steady. So yeah, another interesting use case for dividend investing. And all this is possible with our dashboard. All right, guys. So this brings us to the end of our bootcamp. And let me ask you guys, are you still out there after more than 3 hours of bootcamp? And do you have any questions? Chris says, excellent bootcamp. Thanks, Chris. My apologies for it being so long. The next time I promise I'm going to split it into 2 days because I think it's a bit hard to follow for more than 3 hours. And but yeah, it's been fun. We will definitely have to re-record this bootcamp in a couple of months again because we have, once again, big plans for the dashboard to further enhance it, to add more features to it, to help you even more find more quality setups. All right. So a couple of questions. Could the trade alerts have a number besides them to identify how long they've been appeared in the alert? Actually, that's a really good question. Whoever asked it, because what we want to do now for the trade alert is a little difference. What has changed since the last time the alert was sent out? How did my dynamic watch list change from the last time? Which symbols have been added? Which symbols have been removed? So this is something that we want to add. All right. Faith, is the recording coming out soon? Yes, absolutely. Probably tonight, Faith. And Ed, fantastic session. Thanks for your time. Yeah, Ed, of course, you're welcome. My pleasure. And Chris says he needs the replay. Absolutely, Chris. Don't worry about this. It will come out soon. And Ella says, super thanks. A lot of added value inspirations. Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for sticking out with me. I know it's been long. Thanks for your attention and hopefully see you on Saturday at our next live scanning session. With this, guys, have a great afternoon. Trade safe and talk to you soon. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.